pick Vice President Trump to be vice president, so I think she's not qualified to be president. Let's start there. And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, with that, I'll take your questions. I've been given a list of people to call on here.
I wanted to ask you about your you mixed up Presidents Zelensky and Putin earlier today. Hasn't this now frankly become damaging from the world?
Did you see any damage or stating my leading this conference? Other leaders, heads of state, and thank you. And the reason we're together is because of Biden. Because Biden did the following. Look, folks, this is anyway.
And good morning, everyone. 710 KNUS Denver Stock Station. Peter Boyles. Final morning for Jeff and Billy. I'm here tomorrow morning on our regular Saturday show. The weather, well, here we go. July the 12th, 2024. 102 today, 102 Saturday, and then 103 on Sunday. I'm going to bring everybody in on this. Kelly Michaels, and of course, the one, the only, Blake Olson. We were going to sort of cross-communicate last night, and then we never pulled it off. I was out at a meeting. I watched it, and then I rewatched it, and then I read it and read parts of it. Kelly put that montage together. I don't know. Let's go around the horn. First of all, Blake, good morning.
Morning.
What did you see?
TGIF.
Yeah. What did you see last night? What did you see?
I saw the train wreck, and then what we talked about. I saw a bunch of softball questions. I had to wait an extra hour to watch this thing.
Yeah.
Leave it to the Democrats to be late, and it was absolutely horrific. At the same time, I need to go back to the window because I don't think the guy's leaving.
No. I thought about you last night. We've had this running gag.
Thought about you.
Yeah, we've had this running gag that you called. Actually, today was your day that Joe Biden was going to pull the pin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said I'd go back to the window, and then after the next day, I said, "Well, wait a minute. Sorry, Kelly Michaels. Kelly Michaels, our boss, who's running the operation this morning. All right, boss, what did you see last night?"
I saw an old guy and a guy that I don't know. I don't think it damages him too much more, but except with donors, I think donors will react negatively. That's my take.
You know, there's an Irish joke, but if you go back and it's a comparison to the debate. And they're burying this old Irishman, and nobody likes him. And the village is out there, and the priest is talking, and they're putting O'Leary in the ground. And the priest says, "Can someone step up and say something nice about Sean?" Nobody moves. And off in the distance, you can see the thunderclouds coming, and they get closer. And Father says, "I'm not dismissing until somebody says something nice about Sean O'Leary." And then finally, lightning strikes a tree about 200 yards from the grave. Some old Mick in the back says, "Father, he had a brother that was worse than him." And so,
classic.
So
nice.
I so pick your Biden with the Trump debate, with Step on All of Us, watching that NATO go round, or last night. Rank and file from top to bottom. All right. Blake Pickham, which was his worst performance?
Wow.
See, mine was the debate.
The debate was yours. I think the pre press conference last night with the with everybody
NATO.
watching NATO and Putin, I think that was the worst.
Boss?
I gotta say debate.
Me too.
Okay.
I mean, big deal, but I guess what my point is in asking that, and the same thing to the audience will get to work, but it averages out to just one bad performance. It isn't as though, he got up to bat and he hit a triple. Then he struck out twice and he walked once, and then he struck out and he got hit with a ball. Then he hit a triple. He's fanning every time, isn't he?
Yep. But the thing is, he owns the team. He's up in the
Good point.
ivory
Yeah.
tower.
Yeah.
He's in the press box. It doesn't matter. I mean, he holds all the cards, and
Boss,
man, he's stubborn.
How about that line? I've been giving a list of people to call on.
Right?
I was
Yeah,
blown away by that.
You and I.
I'm like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yes.
that's incredible.
And he stays away. There wasn't any tough questions, but he gets that sock puppet, that French guy.
Oh man, I've been looking for that. I thought I recorded it, and I don't have it. I'm gonna try to get it.
Why
That
do you-
was what the
And you got to believe that was a setup. They
Yeah.
love you in France, all that kind of
right.
stuff. No, there was like there were animals there that wanted to bite him on the rear end, and he picks this, like I said, this French sock puppet who we love you in France.
What in the
That was-
world?
no, and I was the one who said, they won't set this up.
Right.
My foot.
I didn't think so either.
What do
I
you-
thought there may be one, canned question like what you
No.
talked about.
No, all right, here's one, Kelly. I waited an hour.
Yeah.
I had a busy
That's what
night.
ticked
lady.
me off. We got things to do, man. We have lives. We have to sleep.
And then I'm watching on CNN,
But
which is
it's that way with every Biden press conference.
Yeah,
sorry,
no
doubt.
doubt.
sorry, it's
Okay.
a personal
And Obama.
it's personal with me because I usually run
Yeah.
these events.
Right.
So we're waiting 90 minutes last night for
Oh,
this
yeah.
guy to
Jeez.
jump out there.
And
Yeah.
I watched CNN, and that's home field for him. But the talking heads kept saying, he'll be out any moment now. And I'm going, after about 46 minutes,
Right.
going like,
It was ridiculous. I was watching ABC, and I haven't watched network news in 25 years. But because you and I were talking about it, I said, well, you know what? Let me watch ABC. And my goodness, it was like they knew it was going to be delayed an hour. They had like 13 packages in there,
Oh, yeah.
and 24 people they were talking to. And I'm like, what? When is this stupid thing going to start?
It's disrespectful to
It
the
is.
country.
Thank you.
It's disrespectful.
well, that's it.
Yeah,
Now,
Be on time, man.
no
Now,
doubt.
come on.
Right. You're the president.
were they waiting for the dope to kick in?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever that's that, because he blows it so bad with NATO
Right.
when he thinks somehow Zelensky turns into Putin. Do they go, okay, Joe, drop him, and they got some big needle?
Oh, no question.
I time it out.
That is,
okay.
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, you can start to hear Joe breathe a little better, all right, now, did he survive? I wrote these notes down last night. When I got home, did he survive? Did he survive, boss?
Yeah, I think he did.
All right.
Yep. I think
Blake?
he did also.
Me-
Yes,
me
he
too.
did. And that's
Me too.
great news for
For Donald Trump.
conservatives
No,
and
it's
Trump.
great. That's
no
right.
doubt.
Agreed.
All right, because
Need to delay this thing as long as possible.
I said now there's a civil war inside the Democratic Party, open civil war. And again, I guess one or two other people since this thing last night, big time Dems and donors have said, that'll be enough. I'm out of here.
Mhm.
And so now there's this internal civil war. And the best example of what I can give you is how screwed up the state of Colorado Republican Party is because of a civil war.
Mhm.
And it's going to be replicated on a national level this time by the Democrats. The Democrats are going to be, and I don't know which one of these jokers is Dave Williams.
Which is really surprising because the Democrats, I mean, they stick together.
Oh,
like
you
glue.
bet. You bet.
Right. No
You bet.
doubt.
And they usually have it together and orchestrated, and it's weird to watch. It's
Back-
weird to watch this.
And back
Mhm.
in the 30s, the legendary Will Rogers had that great line that the Democratic Party is a firing squad in a circle.
Mhm.
And now, like using the Colorado Republican Party as my weak sister model, the Dems are headed there. They're in a bad street, USA, Bubba, and you watch. Now, in November, we'll begin with Blake. Is he on the ticket, Bubba?
Man, see, man, how dirty is this going to get behind
Oh,
closed doors? So I'm going to, okay. Wow.
Hmm.
I say no. Just and not because he's going to step aside. I mean he'll be forced to step aside, not because he wants to, but because they say, hey, you and Hunter are going to the clink unless you do this.
Boss?
No, I don't think he will be, because it's about the money, and the donors are falling away, and the money will dry up, and they will go with someone else, likely Kamala.
Do you remember he gets into these whispers? I mean, and then he's sundowning. He's sundowning.
He did that like 3 times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How about when he talked about his staff? He says his staff, and because you better get like what?
Right.
What?
That was crazy.
We were because all of us were talking about the great orators of certainly the last 100 years, and that I want to tell you this, they're called stage whispers. You know that.
Yes.
That. Like, oh, this is just between you and me.
Somewhere down the line, someone told Biden, use that for effect, and he just never stopped doing it.
Or that's runs out of gas. But we're talking about Ronald Reagan and Jack Kennedy and FDR, and even the bad guys that gave great speeches. We're talking about Winston Churchill yesterday. Can you imagine Winston Churchill saying, we defeated the Germans?
No, I couldn't.
No.
Hey, let me ask something. Is 220 million enough? He mentioned that. So is that cash there to stay? They can't pull. Are you saying they can pull that money away? How does that work?
I'm not sure.
Is it in there, Kelly? I don't know. Is it locked up, or can they take some of that 220 million away? The donors. I don't even know.
I don't know. You can't take it back.
I don't know.
Yeah, you can't take it back. But
okay,
so that's what you're asking. Right?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. I mean, those guys will do anything, but
they're going to the window.
Yeah, that's right.
The one thing that
I'm done guessing.
Yeah, as a little history geek and an FDR fan, when he said he's been the greatest president for unions. Remember that line he said last night?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
not even close.
Right.
I mean, FDR is the president that begins the allowances, if you would, for union organization in America, and that's a great sidebar story. Why the presidents ride in Cadillacs, and Henry Ford, who Adolf Hitler called Heydrich Ford. Henry Ford was so anti-union. He had the goons, and he did everything that he did. And so the presidents used to ride in Lincolns. And because of FDR's hatred of Henry Ford, he switched to a Cadillac. And that's why why Cadillacs are the limo of choice. Although of course Jack Kennedy was killed in a Lincoln, but
right. But the teachers union's the biggest union, and so the Democrat is always going to be.
But they're public sector unions. They're But it's when he said, "I've done more for you," I'm going like, no, I wish my old man was sitting here and have a conversation. Well. So it is time for the Olson report. The lines are open and they're filling up. 303-696-1971. Did he survive? And is he on the ticket this November? Both of you guys say he did survive last night. Did either one of you expect him to come out and throw in the towel?
I have to. I didn't rule it out.
Yeah, neither did I. That's exactly what I was thinking.
So I
didn't rule it out.
He's that unpredictable.
Yeah,
but he is Gloria Gaynor.
Oh, I will survive. Yeah. Oh, very good, Cal.
Nice.
Very good.
Nice.
See, I think in prize fight stuff, like, when you get tagged real hard, and your corner tells you to survive the round. And they're not in the championship rounds yet, but this is the so-called middle rounds of a fight where it's, you're just trying to break the guy's ribs. And he got tagged pretty good. actually tagged himself, but Donald Trump tagged him pretty good in that debate. And so he sits down on the stool in the corner. And what do they say? There's Joe Biden, there's Hunter. They're doing cuts and they're cornering him. They go, survive the round and go out there and hang on them.
Well described.
Yeah. So it's not the championship rounds yet, but it's the middle rounds of a prize fight that are the most gut wrenching of all. And his corner, he got hurt, and his corner tells him, stay away and survive. Get your air back. And did he do that last night? Whew.
I think he did.
Yeah, I do too.
Which is crazy because he didn't land any punches.
No. But he stayed away. And when it got to that magic moment where he said, in that press moment, he said, I've been given a list of people to call on, I think is what he said. And then mention that again, that French sock puppet. Why? Blakey, why are they picking that guy?
I have no idea.
And he's on.
Then again, I was wondering a few weeks ago why he's standing, 4 people down from a man in a dress at that little thing at the White House. I mean, really?
I've been given, and
who knows?
And we've talked about the Jack Kennedy press conferences, and that they all have seating charts, but a list. And he does not call on one tiger.
Ducey.
Oh man.
Yeah, Ducey did not get the call.
No.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, this is fraudulent.
Exactly.
Right.
Anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I said when he went the French guy. And by this time I'm driving to my meeting, right? So I'm listening to it on the radio, and the French guy. They love you in France. And I'm like, who's this guy? Oh, hi, my boy.
All right, here we go.
All right.
Good morning, TGIF. 67 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 102 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. You can beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway,
by the way, and that was before the press conference. The softball questions couldn't even help the president. The guy he hates more than Obama, former President Trump, is now his VP.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
CNN reports Obama and Nancy Pelosi have held private meetings about the future of Biden's campaign. The meetings come as 16 congressional Democrats have called on Biden to exit the race. More highlights from last night.
Our military is working. I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, the chief of staff of the military. Can you name me somebody who's gotten more major piece of legislation passed in 3.5 years? I created 2,000 jobs just last week. Today, I asked our NATO allies that we bring on the group from the South Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Australia. I already mentioned Australia.
Biden said European leaders tell him he must defeat Trump. The president said it would be a disaster for NATO if Trump wins. Now, former Illinois Democratic Governor Rod Blagojevich, Blago, he knows dirty politics. He's from Chicago.
Well, I think George Clooney's going to have a sleepless night because I think President Biden made it clear he's not going anywhere. He's going to stay. And the only way they can get a new candidate is if he's willingly agrees to step aside. He's made it clear that he's going to run. It sure looks like all the indications are that he's going to run. And, the Democrats are in a real bind.
And The View, they have no idea their favorite guy, Obama, was behind Clooney's op-ed on Thursday.
Couldn't they tell him that in person, for God's sakes? He has to write an op-ed piece?
I don't like that George Clooney did this. I don't like that George Clooney aired this dirty laundry to the world.
I will be damned if I will use whatever little platform I have to demean and weaken our commander-in-chief.
They're killing me, Whitey. They're killing me.
Hey, you know, Blago did his time here. Did you know that?
He was in Jefferson County, right?
No, I have some close personal friends that I motorcycle with. They did time with Blago.
Really?
They said he was great.
I bet. I mean, the guy can hold a conversation. He's a smart guy. He is dirty.
They knew Blago.
Right. That is funny. I was gonna say I think he was in Jefferson County.
Was in the Fed. He was in the Fed out there.
He was in the Fed.
Yeah.
All right, Fulton County, Georgia's election board is bringing in independent monitors to observe voting operations in the general election. Members narrowly approved the measure on Thursday. It now goes to the state election board for a green light. A former Greenwood Village police officer is going to prison for his role in the 2021 deadly shooting of teenager Peyton Blistine. Adam Holland was sentenced to 2 years behind bars after an Arapahoe County jury convicted him in February of manslaughter in the death of the 17-year-old. The Denver Police Department revealing its plan to curb violence and increase overall safety in Denver's Lodo and Ballpark district areas. Goals of the plan include reducing the amount of traffic congestion during peak bar hours to improve pedestrian safety and dispersing crowds more effectively during bar outcrowd hours to reduce the conflicts that can escalate to violence. Actress Shelley Duvall has passed away at the age of 75.
I love irises. I love flowers and candlelight. They're so romantic.
Of course, also in The Shining with Jack Nicklaus. She passed away, complications with diabetes. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com.
Well hit to left. God! It's a power surge for Tyler Stevenson. He's got 2 bombs and 5 ribbies today.
Rocks lose to the Reds 8-1 on getaway day at the Mets tonight. 63 in Castle Rock, 64 in Louisville, and 67 in Denver. Pete is on day 5 TGIF.
One more to go.
One more to go. You got the marathon show tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm hip.
That's right. In for Jeff and Bill, Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your 710 5-day forecast. Heat advisories are in effect for Denver all the way up through Sunday. Hot with upper 90s to near or better than 100 today, tomorrow, and Sunday. Lows at night, mid to upper 60s. Nothing more than an isolated gusty late day thunderstorm. A better chance of showers and thunderstorms, not as hot by Monday and Tuesday. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center. Your 710 5-day forecast. Heat advisories are
And after a while, it started to get weird. He does this thing where he whispers, and I'm not sure exactly what he thinks it sounds like, but it's bad.
When unions do better, everybody does better. Everybody does better. And we talk about how, for example, when I went, but they add things all the time. At the very end, it's not going to happen. No one's saying that.
And journalists were having none of it. Nearly every question involved bewilderment at why Biden was still in the race.
Our political future has hung over the NATO summit a little bit this week.
You mixed up Presidents Zelensky and Putin earlier today.
But what makes this moment in history so unique is that it is not your enemies who are calling on you to reconsider your decision to stay in the race. It's your friends, supporters, people who think you've done a great job.
All right, let's get it started. Peter Boyles, good morning, everyone. Friday, the 12th morning of July, and lines are wide open, which I suspect may be the last time this morning. 102, and 103 on Sunday. 303-696-1971 is our phone number. Kelly Michaels got the con, and Blake Olson's in the exclusive newsroom. I'll be back here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. All right. Did you watch it? And if so, now what? Did Joe survive to fight another day? Do you believe that Joe's going to be on the ticket come this November? And if so, how or why? And he is now. And we talked about this yesterday when I watched him and I thought to myself, this guy's not quitting. And then watching him last night, did you see a guy that's going to throw the towel in at all costs? And that hour of him being late, were you watching the tube and watching them play? That's called playing for time, watching them stall out. I decided, okay, I'll watch CNN, and they were doing the any moment now. And I'm thinking, after a while, there's a guy up there with his headsets on, sitting in the booth, going, after a while, my foot, where is he? And were they jazzing him up to get him to come out and get him to go? So it really is just an interesting crossroads moment again. And I love the moment where he said, I have been given a list of people to call on. I thought, wow, are you just flipping it over? You giving up your hand? So his big boy Joe Biden press conference, and is he back after last night? And I do contend that, in prize fighting or in fighting, it's, how rounds are played out. And if you listen to the great, people that understand boxing, teach boxing, coach boxing, middle rounds, opening rounds, championship rounds, he's not there yet in terms of that may be like the beginning of the middle rounds. And he's been hurt. He's been tagged. Trump clearly tagged him. I don't know what he's thinking after he called Zelensky Putin, and then they still applaud him. They still give him applause, and which tells you about the people standing around him. Nobody said so the Dems, and he denies reports of being sundowning and just everything that goes with it. All right, let's rock and roll. Jay, this is Jay. Jay, you're up here on the show. It's Friday morning. Good morning. Hey.
Good morning to you, sir. Yeah, Biden's going to throw it in for at all costs. That was an interesting statement. But he's thrown our lives in, the American people's lives in at all cost. Not his own, our lives.
Well, that's true with, any and all presidents. Although it's, but they risk, Lyndon Johnson risks it. And, that goes without saying. The Bush Cheney people risked it. I can't say that, but what did you see last night? What did you see?
Incompetency.
That's a good one. That's a good word.
Totally incompetent.
Is he? Go on. I'm sorry.
Reality of us normal people or the American people. He has no respect. He lives on a different like what he said about Ukraine. Oh, well, yeah, they support me over there. Okay, well, you need to take care of your home before you worry about being supported and being loved in another country. Because if you can't take care of your homeland and want the American people to support you, and you're looking at another country to support you, I don't understand that.
Well, but that's the sadness of American foreign policy, that how much money has left this country over time, gone into black holes somewhere. And so he's not the first one to pull that stunt, but he certainly is. I just got a text message, one of my dearest friends in law enforcement, who said the dope was time released. Now, if I said his name, right, but he's a very prominent member of the Front Range law enforcement organizations, but he said the dope was time released. I don't know. Is he going to be on a ticket in November? Is he on the ticket?
You're a smarter man than I am.
No. I want your opinion.
I don't know exactly how that all political stuff works. I mean, I kind of hope that they do, because there's no way that he's going to beat Trump.
I'll tell you what. If you are a Trump supporter and or fill in the blank, you are glad this morning. This is good. This is great news for the Republican Party. This is great news for Donald. The guy's staying in, and he keeps. They used to hide people away, and the crown heads of Europe or whoever it was, they would literally hide them away. And this guy this steps out in the sunlight.
You can criticize me all you want, but I love your show. But it's easy to take care of. It's easy to take care of a weak person, and he is a very weak person. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's like the kid that's easy to pick on in school, type of thing. So therefore, leave him in, because Trump will tear him apart.
The people surrounding Donald Trump, who I thought did a masterful job in that debate. And I do believe now that Donald Trump is listening to his handlers, and he gets off the hook too. And now, do you think they'll ever? Here's one I wrote down for myself too. Do you think we'll see a second debate between the two?
I hope so. But
no, but what would you do if you were a handler of Joe Biden? And I think the next debate's coming fairly soon, isn't it? And now
I would just throw him in the basement and then see what happens.
I really didn't. I, for whatever it's worth, when we got to a 45-minute delay, I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone, and we were watching together, and I said, he's not coming out. I mean, I really believed it, which shows you how much faith and trust I have in him. But I said, this guy's not coming out.
Yeah.
No, didn't you think that after this was the most
true
significant political event probably although the Milwaukee begins, and I said, he's not coming out to the wall.
I'm only 48 years old, so you've seen a lot more of the years than but have you ever in your lifetime seen anything somewhat equivalent?
Richard Nixon.
Anything of this nature?
Richard Nixon in the end.
Nixon was the same type. See, I don't remember that type of stuff.
We've been talking about it off and on all week. And in the end, Nixon in the end. But he didn't play it out in public. And he would do these press conferences, and we played some of his speeches yesterday where he's just flat lying. And but Nixon in the end must have been total madness. But
interesting.
All right, man. Thank you. All right, read a couple. Mr. Boyles, what are the odds that a medical incident happens to cause Biden to be withdrawn? I'm more than willing to buy into a theory like that. Pete, I think you're spot on. The hour delay, they were waiting for the Kennedy cocktail to kick in. There was a Max. What was Max's last name? And the Kennedys called him Dr. Feelgood. And he gave him shots. And they took him to Paris. They were going to meet Khrushchev. And they put him on a separate airplane, and they didn't want anybody to see him. Max, come on. But he gave Bobby Kennedy shots. He gave Jack shots. They gave Marilyn Monroe shots. Sinatra got shots. I mean, and it was meth and vitamin, maybe B. And it was, this guy made a cocktail, and and we now know this stuff. He shot him up. And there's a new group of historians who believe actually Jack Kennedy had done LSD, and he certainly experimented with smoking pot. But he was, he's still Jack Kennedy. When he stands up there, New Frontier, man, a guy thumb in his pocket. He boy, my folks loved him. Everybody in the neighborhood loved him. 303-696-1971. Joe Biden. He denies reports of sundowning. I've been given a list of people to call on. It is your turn. We got to turn quick. 303-696-1971 is the phone number. I'm here tomorrow at 9. Did he survive last night? 710 KNUS.
At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. President Joe Biden held a news conference last night as part of his efforts to fend off growing calls for him to step aside as the Democratic Party's presumptive nominee. In New York, Haley Bianco has the highlights.
After a concerning debate performance, the president is facing a growing chorus of calls from lawmakers, celebrities, and other prominent Democrats to leave the 2024 race. Hoping to put an end to the concerns over his age and ability, Biden talked for about an hour and batted away questions about his age and fitness for office while defending his record. Biden says he won't leave the presidential race as long as he has a chance to win. The president insisted that he has no plans to drop out to make room for Vice President Kamala Harris or anyone else. Reporting in New York, I'm Haley Bianco, Salem News Channel.
Global sales of electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles rose by 13% last month compared to June 2023. The boost was largely driven by China, where the company BYD enjoyed strong sales. But there were notable regional differences, with sales in Europe down 7%, but in the US and Canada, sales were up 6%. Industry experts say demand for vehicles has cooled as consumers wait for more affordable options. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm John Beaver.
And now my show, Peter Boyles, until Monday. Then it's their show back again. 710 KNUS made it to a Friday with beautiful weather. If you love hot, 102, 103. And the beat goes on to a texter by the name of Jason who sent in, thank you, Max Jacobson, Dr. Feelgood, and legendary. And only in the last time period has a lot of this stuff started to get out about the Kennedy administration that was, in essence, was very coddled by the press. The press loved Jack Kennedy. We've been talking about Nixon. They hated Nixon, and Nixon hated them. But Jack played the press. The press loved Jack. They were much alike. And so I don't know who discovered this guy, but he was sort of an experimental physician. And I think he was in New York, and he would concoct these shots, inoculations. And I don't know who from the inner circle was the first to go get the shots, but came back and said, whoa, when you get one of these shots, everything elevates. You feel better, you got more energy. Well, of course, a guy's shooting meth, but there's vitamin B12 there was a book about him, and I read it too many years ago. But so Jack is going off to see Khrushchev in Paris, and Khrushchev just looks down his nose at him, thinks he's a young upstart, that he hasn't paid his dues. And so they take Max along, but they put him in another airplane. They don't put him on Air Force One. If it was, I don't know if it was Air Force One back then, but when they flew to Paris, remember Jackie goes to Paris and de Gaulle's there, and but Dr. Max comes on a separate plane. They hide him away, and before Jack goes to meet Khrushchev, and Jack's back's killing him, and Khrushchev's one up on everybody, and he goes and gets the shot before he goes to see Nikita. That's beauty. And all of those guys. Jack Kennedy was a heavy smoker, smoked cigars. No one knew it. Like Elvis. Elvis smoked those black cigars. No one knew it. The inner circle knew it. And of course, as we were talking about, Jackie Kennedy was a chain smoker practically, and probably one of those things that led up to. And she died young. But I think everybody smoked. Remember, doctors would smoke, or on the back of. My grandma got the Saturday Evening Post, and always be like a guy that, remember those things, they put those mirrors on their heads? Like have a band, and then they have a mirror, like there's a round mirror, and a guy have a white lab coat on. He had a Camel. He's smoking a Camel. Should I take a turn around? We'll come back, take the calls. All right, folks on the phones, hang on right there. You're up right after this. Made it to a Friday morning and a hot day coming your way, 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles. Good morning. Thank you for being here. 303-696-1971. Here we go to the phones. We go to Pete. Hey, Pete, you're on the radio show. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey.
Hey, I think one of the things I think about in this is what an opportunity for the Republicans.
Absolutely.
But they're gonna blow it. And here's what I believe, Pete, that the Republican machine right now should be running ads about how the American people have been lied to, how the true threat to democracy is the question is who has really been running the country for the last 3 years.
It's too soon.
I agree. Timing is
soon.
right.
Timing
is. But what an opportunity they have coming up.
You got to get here. The jump off date is almost always agreed upon Labor Day. And if you listen to radio or watch TV or print ads, it amps up after Labor Day because they know everybody's on vacation. But I think your point's so well taken because I think as we speak now, somebody's running for office 12 months a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it isn't like the old model, but still, I know the ads you're talking about, thinking about. And I suspect you'll see them. This is, first of all, believe this will be the nastiest election cycle in a long time.
Well, the other thing, Pete, is how complicit has the press been during all this?
Oh,
they've known this guy can't form a sentence for the last 3 years, yet they've covered for him.
Well, you watched
I just think this is such an opportunity for the American people to wake up and say, who is really pulling the strings here?
Well, but if you look once again, and I'm writing about it today, ratings and revenue and all the circulation, it has been so dwindled. The networks are, I don't want to say non-existent, but they're headed that way. Radio follows it, by the way. Newspapers, similar. People, we talked about this on Monday on the show. Where do you get your information? People are in all these alternative sources. And so the dead giveaway last night was, and I don't know if it was a slip of the tongue when Biden said, I've been given a list of people to call on. Did you see that moment last night?
I did. The other moment I found pretty peculiar is how Biden said he needs to pace himself. I think every American should go to work today and tell their boss that they just need to pace themselves.
Yeah. No, and like I said, if he didn't know, and which is conceivable, but his handlers who put the list up, and like I said, we've dubbed him the French sock puppet, but he calls on this guy. He won't call on this Ducey kid from Fox, but he calls on this French guy. We love you in France, and I'm going, what? Did they know this was coming? My best guess, Pete, is of course they knew. They knew this guy was gonna honk Joe.
Well, and again, the American people got to see how calculated everything is.
But it's always masterful. I mean, it's almost regardless of the president. Now, we've been talking about Nixon, but Jack Kennedy controlled press conferences, and it's nothing new. Believe me when I tell you, it's nothing new.
It's nothing new, Pete, but at least during the Kennedy administration, there was accountability.
Careful there.
Well, to the point of the press wasn't in the bag for a specific candidate.
Oh my heavens! Of course they were. Of course they were.
Well, but it's not as much as it is now, and I think
more so. I mean, if you, and again, if you go back and read those books, we got 3 minutes to the end. His press secretary would go out prior to press conferences, and he held a lot of them, and they called it salting, like salting your food, and they had a 10 or 12. And it's always white men, if you notice the press corps then. And they gave them questions to ask Jack that he knew the answers for. And he could be very clever, funny. He could make a poignant point. And he knew. I mean, they told him, Pierre told him, hey, call this guy, call that guy. And they enjoined him. They were by and large Second World War guys. They were drinkers. They were chasers. They were who they were. And they related to him. And the same thing was true with the press and FDR, that these were, blue collar kids. But when it came to Nixon, and I think the jumping off point really is Nixon. But the real turning point is when it comes to women, and every one of those guys. I mean, the woman issue with Trump or the woman issue with Clinton, who had more women than Jack Kennedy?
Yeah, that's hard to beat, isn't it?
Maybe Frank Sinatra, but that's.
Well, wasn't Kennedy probably in bed with someone during the birth of one of his children? What I've always read.
I always thought that was Trump. I always thought that was Trump with Stormy Daniels.
Could be.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
Who do you think's really running the country right now? That's the question to be asked.
I mentioned when I don't know, I'm a young man beginning to learn how to read, and I was given a book by Brooks Van Everen titled, and I remember the guy's a Marxist. He wrote a book called The Power Elite. His name was just the letter C, then Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T, C. Wright Mills. And Mills started to talk about who runs the country. The Birchers say the same thing. The far left says the same thing. And now the right is starting to say the same things about the deep state and, those kinds of things. So it's a great question that you and I could sit and we could talk about for 4 days and not come up with an answer. But I tell you what, brother, it ain't me and you.
That's for sure.
All right. Thanks.
Hey, have a great morning.
You too. All right, everybody on the phone, stay right there. Made it. Comes the second hour of the Billy and Jeff show. I'm Peter Boyles. I'm back here tomorrow morning on a Saturday. And we'll go to the man. We'll go to Blake and back with Kelly after this.
What concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she's not qualified to be president. So let's start there. The fact is that the consideration is that I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again. I think I'm the best qualified person to do the job, to make sure that Ukraine is not fall. Ukraine's succeed. I'm determined on running, but I think it's important that I allay fears. Let them see me out there. Anyway, I've taken 3 significant and intense neurological exams by a neurologist.
Right.
In each case, as recent as February. And they say I'm in good shape. Okay? Although I do have a little problem with my left foot because it's not as sensitive because I broke my foot and didn't wear the boot. But I'm good.
But I have on clean underwear. I mean, what was that about? Good morning, everyone. 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles. The boys are back in town on Monday. It's a Friday, July the 12th. It's going to be really hot today and tomorrow and Sunday. Kelly Michaels, Peter Boyles, the tune only Blake Olson, the Olson Report. And we've been kicking this thing around more so actually off the air. So folks on the phones, if you hang for a second, we'll get to you. All right, Blake. And we were talking, Kelly and I were talking, and we still have not found, I'm going to find that French reporter. I'm not going to find it. Kelly will. I'll give you on a 1 to 10. Given that, well, we don't have to give the debate a number, but on a 1 to 10, what score do you give Uncle Joe last night?
10 being the best?
Yeah.
I would say a 2 because he survived. Well, no, I'd say a 3 because he survived.
How about a letter grade?
Okay. Man, given what we saw at the debate, okay, I'll give him a C minus.
I'll go C. I'll give him a little bit more.
C?
Yeah.
From last night?
Yeah.
You giving him a D? F?
Are we grading on a curve? Remember that? Because I that's what I'm seeing. Like we got to average out. Well, we were talking like a ball player or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You average him out. If you take his debate performance, his Stephanopoulos interview or whatever you want to call it, the NATO speech, and then last night, and you roll them all into one and trying to average it out. How about that question?
Oh, that's good.
All right, where do you come up?
D minus, F.
Okay.
Gotta go D. Yeah. Solid D.
Yeah, so the gentleman's D
for Delaware.
Hey,
there you go.
Very good. That was if I got a D, I was happy.
D for dead meat.
Oh,
yeah, that's right.
Look,
man,
kids,
dead meat.
I got all D's.
Yeah, no, I had a college class where I was very happy that I got a D.
Oh yeah, no, sure. I mean, it's my high school career. I got a D. Really? The other part of it was the Great Whispering Act.
So weird.
Kel, you have that right at your fingertips? I mean, that.
And after a while, it started to get weird. He does this thing where he whispers, and I'm not sure exactly what he thinks it sounds like, but it's bad.
When unions do better, everybody does better. Everybody does better. And we talk about how, for example, when I went, but they add things all the time. At the very end, it's not going to happen.
Why?
No.
What's that about?
Creepy.
All right, Blake. Why does he do that?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I have no idea other than he's practicing up to talk to children or women when he's sniffing their hair. I have no idea.
Sick puppy.
Hey, that guy is sick.
All right, Kelly. Why is he do the Whispering Smith? I mean,
He's far gone. The early stages of dementia or some type of illness, and that's one of the precursors.
Was this Bill Anderson, the country singer that would whisper, "I love," and Conway Twitty did that too. "I love you, darling." And he, who was better than Conway Twitty? But
I like
he's
Conway Twitty.
he's no Conway.
Oh no!
Come on.
Hey, Bob and I did a show. This is a true story. We're talking about Bob Lee. Conway Twitty picked his name from a map from two different. It was Twitty, Texas, and wait a minute, and Conway, Arkansas.
Oh, that's great.
And he darted the map, and he became Conway Twitty.
Wow,
true story. And because he's really somebody else.
That's pretty funny.
But he was, but what a cool guy though. I mean, really cool guy to talk to. And women lined up on Conway. Whew.
Really?
Oh, they wore those Nudie suits. Remember that guy Nudie that made those, he made like those Ric Flair ring jackets and stuff. We got to get those.
Let's get some.
We got to get some.
Let's go.
We'll let Jeff and Bill wear those.
Yeah, there you go. On Halloween.
No, man, we got to get ring coats and they were called Nudie suits.
Nudie.
The guy's name was Nudie. The guy that made the suits.
Oh, okay. All right.
And they called.
The guy's name is Nudie.
Google him. I'm a big Nudie guy.
If you Google Nudie, what are you going to get?
I think he spelled it. You get the machine. And I think he spelled it Nudie. And he had this.
Really? I am not Googling that.
No, he had. I think he was in Hollywood, and I think he was in Nashville, and he made these Nudie suits. And that's what they were called. Yeah, and
I knew I'd learn something today.
Yeah,
I knew it.
And they were all spangly. Remember when country singers wore all that? The men wore them. And Hank Williams. You ever see Hank Williams in his prime? He had those white suits on.
Yeah,
kind of the glam era of country music,
right? Well, yeah, they were countrypolitan. They were like, they were. I mean, and then they became outlaws. And when they became outlaws, and they dressed like we do, or like I do. But no, they were Nudie suits, and Nudie was a real guy. And like there's certain people that made certain things that nobody else can buy. And I think Nudie. I'm guessing. I think Nudie was in Beverly Hills. Somebody's going to call the show and say, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But they made, they had cars made. Remember they had cars made with like bullhorns on stuff? Yeah.
He had bell-bottom stuff, right?
I think wasn't Elvis really the first performer? Because he was really making like a karate gi. And here, listen to this. These people are way smarter than me. Conway's real name was Harold Lloyd Jerkins. That's it. Thank you.
Nice.
And I think should have stuck with that.
The guy's name was Nudie Khan, according to the internet.
What I tell you?
Nudie Khan.
Yeah.
And why am I not surprised?
He's a Ukrainian-American tailor.
Yes.
Wow.
And he designed decorative rhinestone-covered suits known properly as Nudie suits.
Told you.
That is awesome.
Stick with me.
Man, I'm
thank you, John Corbliss.
Wow.
No,
Thanks, John.
When I was doing country music, playing country music, Bob Lee and I, the old Lee and Boyles show, we met everybody. And we emceed more than one. We were lucky. We were at that moment where outlaw country was just starting to take off. And at the same time, the movie Urban Cowboy had hit, Travolta. And we worked a lot of days and nights. I mean, with good guys. I mean, there were guys who better stay away from him, but it was like pro wrestling, It was the same thing.
The same thing.
Yeah. Anyhow, no, there was a real guy, Nudie, made Nudie suits.
Wow, that is cool.
And they made Cadillacs too. They made really cool Cadillacs. Remember, Hank dies in the backseat of a Cadillac.
Man, I hope he made some money. I really do.
Hank?
I hope. No, Nudie.
Oh. Sure he did.
Hope he made a lot of money.
Made a lot of suits.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, it'd be so cool. Disc jockeys wore that stuff,
Oh yeah.
When you made appearances, Cal, when you jocked and appeared, did you have like station jackets and stuff, station shirts?
Yeah. We had station jackets and station shirts and all that.
They were all shiny.
Oh,
back in
the
the
shiny
80s.
jackets.
Yeah, back in the 80s, they were.
Just for the record, did you ever work the prize patrol?
Oh yeah.
See,
on remote.
Yeah, no, you would go that, and you go like you go out and you would announce Bob and I did it, and you would announce on like we're at 18th and Glennar. I'm just making up that. And come down, and we got tickets to give away. Remember all that stuff? Cal?
Yeah, man. What you got for free?
They were gimmies.
People coming up to you. What you got for free, man? Well, I got some CDs and some tickets.
Those tickets, the ticket man, and be in the front row. One of the things I did for wrestling was, they call it paper the house. Call up the rock station. Hey, we, give away 15. I'm serious.
That's awesome.
Oh,
See, you radio guys, you remember that, people coming up to you, what you got for free. And when you're in TV, back in the day, I mean, wherever you go with the camera, put me on TV. Put me on TV.
Oh yeah.
Now,
That's funny.
Now they can care less. They couldn't care less. Now they have their phone and they're like, get out of here and put me on TV.
And nobody wants to go on TV. Nah, it's all right.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm good.
Absolutely. For a price, I'll put you on TV.
Indeed. Here we go. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, for Blake. When you got
the Nudie show. The Nudie show.
I'm shocked that you got
Nudie news.
Nudie. The Nudie. We only got a couple.
I can't
more
believe
of
I
these.
didn't know that.
Yeah, well,
I know. I'm sad, man.
I
I would join you tomorrow morning, but I don't know if I can do that.
You got to get up.
Yeah, exactly. I have to wake up.
Wake up and roll. Hit the floor. All right, my boy. Here's the news. All right.
70 and sunny, Pete, in Denver, expecting a high of 102 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast. Coming up, our top story.
Joe Biden is deeply resentful of his treatment under not only the Obama staff, but also the way he was pushed aside for Hillary Clinton.
Maybe the first time I've ever agreed with Joe Scarborough. Pete and Kelly say the debate was worse than last night. Probably true. I think because of all the buildup and dementia talk, this may have come close to topping the debate debacle.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway.
What a train wreck. And then you read this. I'm so confused. A new poll shows Biden holding his own among voters, but former President Trump is within striking distance. This shouldn't be a shocker here. The latest PBS News, NPR, Marist state media poll shows that if the election were held today, 50% of registered voters would support Biden, 48% for Trump. Sniffin' Joe thinks Trump is his VP.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she's not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
CNN reports Obama and negative Nancy Pelosi have held private meetings about the future of Biden's campaign. 16 congressional Democrats have called on Biden to exit the race. In between the whispers, he was laying down the stories.
Our military is working. I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, the chief of staff of the military. Can you name me somebody who's gotten more major piece of legislation passed in 3.5 years? I created 2,000 jobs just last week. Today, I brought on, I asked our NATO allies that we bring on the group from the South Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Australia. I already mentioned Australia.
Biden said European leaders tell him that he must defeat Trump. Kellyanne Conway broke it all down well on Fox News last night.
Sure, I think he does survive. They've got some ballot access issues about removing him involuntarily. I don't think people still have confidence in Kamala's competence enough to think that she could have hosted the NATO summit this week without us laughing, that she could be standing there and having a press conference for an hour.
The Clear Creek County Sheriff's Office identified a human skull found in 2018 in the Lawson area. The skull was sent to the University of North Texas for DNA extraction. CBI found a DNA match for the skull, which belonged to David Michael Crady. Crady was born in 1955. His cause of death is under investigation. Don't worry about any planned power outages this weekend. Xcel Energy officials are confident they can meet the high demand for electricity during this heat wave. Power was cut more than 100,000 to 100,000 homes on the Front Range during April's massive windstorm to reduce the risk of wildfire. Actress Shelley Duvall passed away at the age of 75 yesterday.
I love irises. I love flowers and candlelight. They're so romantic.
She died from complications from diabetes.
Well hit to left. Gone! It's a power surge for Tyler Stevenson. He's got 2 bombs and 5 ribbies today.
Speaking of power surges, Rockies lose to the Reds 8-1 on getaway day at the Mets tonight. 68 in Englewood, 66 in Westminster, and 70 in Denver. Repeat on day 5. TGIF in for Jeff and Bill. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your 710 5-day forecast. Heat advisories are in effect for Denver all the way up through Sunday. Hot with upper 90s to near or better than 100 today, tomorrow, and Sunday. Lows at night, mid to upper 60s. Nothing more than an isolated gusty late day thunderstorm. A better chance of showers and thunderstorms, not as hot by Monday and Tuesday. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she's not qualified to be president. So let's start there. And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, with that, I'll take your questions. I've been given a list of people to call on here.
I wanted to ask you about your, you mixed up Presidents Zelensky and Putin earlier today. Hasn't this now, frankly, become damaging for America's standing in the world? Thank you.
Did you see any damage to our standing in my leading this conference? I know it sounds too self-serving, but other leaders, heads of state, in thanking me, saying the reason we're together is because of Biden, because Biden did the following. Look, folks, this is, well, anyway.
Anyway, good morning, everyone. Last night, the President of the United States, I'm Peter Boyles. The boys will be back on Monday. I have tomorrow as well. Here on 710 KNUS Denver's talk station, 102 will be the high, 102 tomorrow, 103 on Sunday and Monday, 98 degrees. We have one line open. I want to just read a couple different things from the text machine. Hey, Pete, the guy's name was Nudie, and he's Hungarian tailor. No one could pronounce his real last name. Porter Wagner was the first to have a custom Nudie suit. I thought Hank did, but Porter Wagner, of course, he wore those clothes as well. All right, we go to the phones. We go to Tony. Tony, you waited. Good morning. You're on the show.
Hey, good morning.
Thank you.
So I'm coming at it from a little bit different position than probably 99% of your callers. I'll say I'd be center left or maybe a conservative Democrat, if we still use that.
Sure.
But I think Blake, he hit on something when he was reporting the news, and that's that after the debate, which that debate performance by Biden should have destroyed any candidate. And here we are now, a couple weeks later, and the polls have barely budged. And I think that's telling you what a big portion of the country, how they feel about Trump. They're afraid of Trump. And I think you could tell by the audience there yesterday, just of the reporters. And the same concerns are being raised by all our allies in Western Europe and in the Asia Pacific region. They're concerned. I mean, they're afraid of him. Now, Trump does have support.
Yeah.
He's got Putin on his side.
Yeah.
He's got Putin on his side, and he's probably got Xi on his side.
Well, but those look, the two most powerful men in the world outside of Joe Biden are those two guys. And if you're looking to,
right.
I mean, you're looking for allies. But let me come back full circle. Whether the press likes you or doesn't like you at this point, I think is self-evident. But what's important, and I brought this up, is if you are Donald Trump or in Trump's team or his corner, don't you want this guy to stay? Because I would think yes.
Trump's advisors are better this go round than they were in 20.
Or he's listening to
definitely,
them. Or he's
they
listening.
definitely do not want to face Kamala Harris. They do not want to. They do not want to face her.
See,
yes, I'm positive of it. If she put say a guy like Julian Castro, the guy who was a former mayor of San Antonio, HUD secretary, she put him on as the VP with her, then black people will come home if she's at the top of the ticket. Hispanics will come home if he's the VP pick, a first Latino to be on a ticket. And then Trump's got problems because then he's the old guy. And everybody who's got concerns about how old both of them are.
But you're telling me two different things, or three different things. One is that Biden has to get off the ticket or get out. I wrote this down last night. Did he survive? And I put a question mark. Is he on the ticket in November? And this November, is he the Democratic candidate for president?
I don't think so.
Ooh, then who?
I don't think so.
How do you get there, being that this is July 12? I mean, Tony, you got to move.
I think what is going to happen, and it's a crapshoot, but what I think's happening right now is Biden is waiting. As soon as he gets the idea that he cannot win,
you're hoping.
Well, I'm not hoping anything. No. I'm saying I think this is his logic.
Well,
if he decides
he's bluffing,
he cannot win.
You think he's bluffing?
Then it's not bluffing. He's doing what he should be doing, trying to rein in all the talk, all the chatter, the talking heads, the public. Everybody. He's trying to rein him in, try to demonstrate that he can be the guy. But if he can't,
his own Colorado is Colorado Republican Party is the absolute worst example of a political party. Now, what I see the Democrats Party heading into a replication of the Colorado Republicans, a civil war. And there has been a Fort Sumter. Shots have been fired. And I don't know what to expect out of Joe, but when I look at this guy, he's not leaving. Now, who knows what happens behind the curtain, but I'll tell you what, if you want to see what can happen to the Democrats, take a look at the Colorado Republican Party.
I don't think, I think he'll step away if he becomes convinced that he can't win.
Oh man.
He'll step back. And when he does, he will say Kamala's the pick for all kinds of reasons. He has to say Kamala's the pick. That has to be her pick, or he loses black voters
or Tony
en masse.
Or Tony, there's a term called an open convention, and there really hasn't been one since Jack Kennedy.
And I don't think there's going to be an open convention. I think he's going to get behind Kamala. Before the convention.
But people did not vote for her; they voted for him. In other words, now because conventions have become so stoic that when the candidate arrives, he or she already have the correct amount of votes to cross the finish line. They're really just rallies. But if you remember, and you got an old guy voice, but you go back to 1960 in L.A., and it's an open convention with Jack Kennedy, and Bobby Kennedy does his nasty little tricks, but Jack gets the blessing. And we've talked about, when Reagan challenges Gerald Ford and loses. I mean, these things happen. But I got to tell you, man, if he's going to step down, he should do it as we speak. And I don't see him doing it.
I'll call back and eat crow if I'm wrong.
No, hey, brother,
but I'm saying to you, I do not think I think he's waiting to see.
Okay.
He's looking over the next couple of weeks to see if he can turn the perception around.
They don't
and I don't think he's going to be able to. I don't think he's going to be able to change a perception.
Brother,
so he'll walk away because he does not want to be the blame for Trump being elected.
Wow.
And
good call.
First and foremost. All right.
Take care of yourself, man. Thank you. 303-696-1971. We go to Tyler, like your name. Tyler, you're on the radio show, man. Good morning.
How are you, sir?
Hey, pretty good.
Fantastic. I think just a perspective I've been stewing on over the analysis of the state of Biden over the course of the year. And I think that it's not necessarily, to me, someone who is just being overcome with what you would call a dementia-like state. Mm-hmm. I think that man has packed himself with so much nonsense and lies and show and overboating over his 50 years in office that at a certain age, if you're trying to keep all the dang stories straight, you're going to have problems pulling the hard drive up.
Yep.
And I think it's maybe even more of that than some kind of an affliction at this point.
No, but
definitely health is in there. But
Tyler, do you believe? I mean, how down? I brought this up with the fellows this morning with Blake and with the boss. If we were giving a letter grade, and I think you have to average out his performances, and this is what big deal me, but you could do it as you wish. But if you take the debate and those other appearances, and then last night, and you average them out, what grade letter would you give the president?
Yeah, it's that C minus thing. I mean, it's,
all right. That high.
Well, I mean, I think it's because it's a performance, and that's what the whole problem.
Well, it always is. I mean, politics is performance. Yeah. Politics is performance art. Yeah.
You look at a Trump scenario versus what Biden. Trump has not been in that ring for the majority of his life.
Oh no,
Trump.
Au contraire, Trump.
Well, I don't see, but Trump hasn't had to keep. He hasn't had to keep foreign scenarios and secrets put together on the level that Biden has.
No, but initially you said Donald Trump has been in the spotlight since he's 19, 20 years old, and
right. But I think it's not. But there's not a bank of dirty little secrets.
Really?
On the level that Biden, well,
really?
not at the level. Yeah, not at the level that Biden's been involved with over his 50 years and everything.
And again, I wouldn't want to live on the difference.
Yeah, but you look at how clear Trump is that he can pull anything off the cuff, and I think it's just what we're witnessing.
That's why. All right, here another one, Tyler. I love your call, by the way. Another one. Do you think there'll be another debate?
No, I don't. I think Trump would take the high ground and say this is not something I'm willing to abuse this guy over. I think that he's going to.
Trump wants to get back in the ring with him, but because
he does. But I think he's playing it well now. I think he is.
Tyler,
he is moving perfectly right now.
Tyler, when your enemy is destroying himself, don't try and help.
He's good. He knows what he's doing. You don't step in the middle of a bad deal and try to save it.
good money. No. But Donald Trump, I wonder, because last night Biden, in essence, issues a challenge. It won't be that way the second time. And I'm thinking, if I'm in your corner, Joe, what do I tell you?
Yeah, and I think none of this comes down to meaning anything at the end of all of this. Whoever's on that blue ticket is going to get the vote for a certain person, and again, it just doesn't matter.
Well, it does, and they're down to it. And I I mean, I have so many questions. When he was 45, and I'll give you the last comment, and I got a break. When it got down to 45 minutes later and late, and he hadn't come out.
Yeah,
and, I thought, twisted way. I thought somebody's going to walk out and say he's not coming out.
And I think that's what everybody. I think that is going to be the final scenario that he is not able. He'll have a medical event of something, whether it's genuine or not.
It's an out card, absolutely. And but the same thing is true. I mean, it's like I'm watching, and he doesn't come out. And then when he does finally come out, I thought how impolite, how disrespectful. We had working men and women. Some old joker like me with the TV on, and I'm waiting for you. And they don't even have the wherewithal to come out and say the president is going to be late. Remember, they moved the start time. Yesterday in the morning, we're doing a gig, and we had a 3:30 start time. And then
I think they're trying to fill the boat with holes right now.
Well,
I think they're on that last steam.
You could be absolutely right. Thank you, brother. Thanks, man. All right, buddy. 303-696-1971. I'm Peter Boyles. Good morning. I'll be back here tomorrow. I'll be at 9:00 tomorrow morning, following John Caldero, 710 KNUS, 102, 102, 103. Get ready. So what did you watch last night? And I love that moment where he said, I've been given a list of people to call on. And his big boy press conference. It's not a joke. Did he survive? 710 KNUS numbers, talk station. You ready, boss? We can pull the pin. Looking over at the man. Ready to pull the pin? Hit it and get it.
At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. Heat-related emergencies in Houston have left hospitals close to capacity as hundreds of thousands are still without power after Hurricane Beryl. 4 days after the Gulf Coast was pummeled by heavy rain, strong winds and tidal surges, temperatures remain in the mid-90s or higher. Locals being urged to stay out of the sun, drink water and take cold showers, and not place any more demands on hospitals that are almost full. Organisers of the Bitcoin 2024 conference have announced that Donald Trump will speak at their event this month in Tennessee. The former president continues to present himself as a cryptocurrency booster as he seeks to return to the White House. Ira Spitzer has more.
The news that Donald Trump will headline the Bitcoin event in Nashville on July 27th is the latest sign of strengthening ties between the former president and the crypto industry. Trump has been critical of the Biden administration's attempts to regulate crypto, a sector which has had a dramatic few years with the collapse of the crypto exchange FTX as well as record high Bitcoin prices. Trump's 2024 election platform released earlier in the week calls for boosting both cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm John Beaver in the UK on Salem News Channel.
Boys are back on Monday. I'm Peter Boyles, in for Billy and for Jeffrey. Back Monday. I'm here tomorrow morning on a Saturday as well. 710 KNUS, Kelly Michaels and Blake Olson, all of us together. 102 degrees. Whew. 102 again Saturday and 103 on Sunday. For whatever mathematical miracle, the lines are open. 303-696-1971. Everybody hauling in and talking about what they saw or did not see last night. And again, my premier question, I make worksheets because I'll forget, but I make worksheets for myself and I bring them on the job. And I wrote, the first question I wrote for the audience or to myself was, did he survive? And how many of you, when he didn't come out and didn't come out and didn't come out, how many of you thought he's not coming out? Which shows you how weak, what a weak stick he has become. That, Trump would walk out, Bush would walk out, Reagan would walk out, Jack Kennedy would walk out. I mean, when somebody said his 2:00 presser started, he'd start at 2:00. And I thought that was so out of line because it's in that hour, it's after school and working families and they want to see the man and they dogged everybody. And there wasn't any excuse. Joe didn't come out and said, I'm sorry, but, something was happening that required my presence. No, he just kind of walked out like, so what? And what was the exact amount? It was beyond 45 minutes. And I don't know what was the exact, and he talks about his love for working families, hell's bells, and the other one that I'm probably the only guy that made them upset was when he started speaking about unions. And he said he was the greatest American president for unions. No, he isn't. He's not even close. He's the great American, whether you love unions or hate unions, but the great American who really allowed industrial unions into this country was FDR. At the height of the Great American Depression, what was taking place in the steel mills and the coal mines and the factories and the car plants and everything and anything. And the union movement began. I mean, it had already begun way before then, but this country, our country, in terms of Western style democracies, the first world, we have the bloodiest history of allowing for union organization or union organizing. Nobody matches this country. One of the great comparison analysis when you read was the things that Woodrow Wilson said about Kaiser Bill. Well, Kaiser Bill, they created kindergartens, children's, public schools. They had rights for women and they had healthcare issues and all these different things under the Kaiser. Woodrow Wilson segregated Washington, D.C., put children back into factories. We've been over this. But Woodrow Wilson, another great liar, was able to sell that to the American people that, we were the ones that were going to make the world safe. When the Kaiser actually, conditions under the Kaiser were light years better, and better yet, they allowed for unions. They didn't have a problem with unions. Having said all of those things, when he said last night, the president said about unions, I said, no. I mean, anybody that's cracked a book knows it was FDR. And it's when FDR was smart enough to bring the Democratic Party to the working man. And this is the same party, of course, the Democrats that create the Dixiecrats that create segregation. The Democrats have a schizophrenic childhood, a schizophrenic young adulthood, but it isn't what Joe Biden was trying to present last night. All right, here we go. This is Arvada Mike. Hey, Mike, thanks. You're on the radio show. It's Friday.
Yeah, that's not the first time Biden's said that I've been given a list of reporters.
Yes.
It's not the first time,
But
I've done that at others.
Yeah, but were you surprised he said it last night? Because I was.
Not too, like I said, not too surprised. What I was surprised, they said this is the first news conference he's held this year.
Since November. Yes, in November of last year. Yeah.
And that's the obvious line. I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president because I didn't think she was qualified.
Yeah, he's brain gassing, right? I mean, we in the business, excuse me, but they call that a brain fart. And guys I've done it a million times on radio shows, and if you're working 4 hours a day and you're working 5 days a week, you're going to screw them up. It goes with the flow, but
he didn't correct himself. That's the best part.
Thank you.
And he says, Biden also said, I'm following the advice of my commander in chief.
No, he couldn't figure out who he was in charge of. I'm telling you, will he survive?
I think he will. He had another great line. Listen to this one. Control guns, not girls, not girls. I thought immediately, I said to myself, tell that to the cartels down there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole scenario of the evening. And by the way, were you put off by that long wait before he came out?
Oh, God, was I ever.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And that just pissed off everybody. So,
and then, when you arrive late at somebody's home for dinner, bring flowers and have an excuse. And that's what he did. Yeah. I mean, and he talks about how he's there for the working man and, all that stuff that.
I get so sick of that. Yeah. Lunch bucket, kitchen table Joe.
Yeah. And it is.
Get a new act.
Yeah, but I thought to myself, at least when you walk out, say, look, folks, I'm sorry. Hunter's got his nose in the bag again, or whatever. Whatever. I apologize. That was out of line, but really, why? I mean, why didn't he say, please accept my apologies? Because I know from friends. I made the meeting on time, but I had a meeting I had to go to, and I'm standing there with the phone in my ear watching CNN. CNN just kept making excuses. He's coming out any moment. I said, where is he?
He also said, I've taken 3 neurology exams every day. I think he's probably been taking 3 numerology tests every day.
Or he's been going to Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic. I go, come on, Joe.
Then he should have said, I put Nancy Reagan and her astrologer to shame.
Nancy Reagan had him too, man.
Well, I bet you Joe's got numerology, neurologist. He's got every drug in the book.
I just got this said to me. As an addict, what you said about Hunter is reprehensible. I agree. I shouldn't have said that. That was out of line. But no, I mean, you come up with. Nobody makes jokes about being junkies more than junkies. But
was that Dr. Feelgood? Did he also treat Elvis?
No, that was Dr. Nick.
Okay. The same one from The Simpsons, huh?
Well, the best one, and there's a true recovery story. A friend of mine who will not be mentioned, who was a colleague, a friend, who said to me one time, Peter, he said, if we had to do, what did he say? He said, if Elvis had to do dope like we did, he'd have been dead 10 years before. And in other words, because he had Dr. Nick. Dr. Nick was giving him clinical dope. And thousands of years ago, remember Elvis's father, Vernon, marries the woman that has the 2 kids. And one kid's name was Billy, and he becomes an evangelical. This is a true radio story, and he comes to town. He's done a book entitled "I Serve 2 Kings," Jesus and Elvis. So I'm doing mornings on KO. I said, we got to get this guy in the studio, and he came in just. Nicest kid in the world. Billy Stanley just came to me. His last name was Billy Stanley. And his mom had dumped her husband. He was like an E7 in Germany and married Vernon Presley. And so we were sitting there talking and off the air, feet up, waiting, having a cup of coffee. And he talked about how he and his brother got addicted and that Elvis made them carry the dope just in case something would go wrong. That they actually called it the football, like the president with launch codes. And he said to me, he said, if Elvis hadn't died, one of us would have. In other words, him or his brother. His kid's name was Billy Stanley. And so that's, Elvis got the guy's name was Dr. Nick, and he gave Elvis the best. And and who's going to tell Elvis no?
Well, yeah, of course. And that's sort of like MJ too.
And the same thing was true with pro wrestlers. They got whatever they wanted too. No problem.
Hey,
yeah, real quick.
Could Biden say Sally sells seashells by the seashore?
No. We'll talk. Thanks. All right. 303-696-1971. Peter Boyles Show until Monday. The boys are back in town. It's a Friday morning. Woo! 303-69, phone number 303-696-1971. 102 will be the high, 102 tomorrow, and 103. I got Friday. Then Sunday is 103 degrees. Good morning, 303-696-1971. The wall was just lit up this morning. How many times did he say anyway when he lost his train of thought and then didn't finish what he was speaking about? Wow, that's observant. You're right. You're right. Saw it again and again and again. Give him a grade. And I think, big deal, what I think, but I think you got to average him. I think you have to look at these appearances that we've been able to see and critique and actually watch again, starting out with the debate. And if you were to grade the debate, wow. I mean, he did worse in the debate than he did in any of the other performances, but he had somebody that he had to go against who, remember, we made the bets, they ain't going to shake hands before or after, and they did not. And then, of course, we see this moment where Dr. Jill literally leads him away. And if you recall the moment when Barack Obama gently had him by the wrist and was walking him off. Now, look, we have to come to terms with, our country and what's best for the nation. Joe Biden. And when he gave that moment, I've been given a list of people to call on. I thought, how telling. But I actually, I see things through, the wheel of history, or better yet, and fighting and pro wrestling. I think all things come from pro wrestling. But in a prize fight, which this kind of is, or he's a fighter, and did he survive the round? And if you know about, people who train great fighters or great fights, there's, the opening rounds, the middle rounds, and then what's called the championship rounds. We have not gotten to the championship rounds. This is just, we're in the middle rounds. And he's been body punched pretty hard, either self-inflicted or Trump scored on him or any number of different things. And he's hurt. And did his corner say to him, stay away, stick, keep your jab in his face, stay out of his, stay out of his power. And did he follow that? Did he survive the fight? Did he survive the round? Because, you go back, you sit on the stool, if you've ever been through it, and guys leaning in your ear going, you're way behind. If you got a shot in this thing, you got to hit him. And other than that, let's just pack it up and go home. So he took swipes at Trump last night. Okay. And Trump takes swipes at him. He offers up far more ammo for Trump than the other way around to the wall. It's interesting how invested the Europeans are in Biden's presidency. Very good. Absolutely. It's all interlocking now. Multinational corporations, the war in Ukraine, the insanity in Gaza. Sure. I mean, you and I, we're the stalking horse. And so we'll come back with everybody's calls. We got to turn around the Olson report. I'm gonna miss this guy, man. I became a fan. I'd go to the gym earlier in the morning and catch the first hour of and Billy and Jeff show when I go into the gym. And when Blake Olson first came on, and I wasn't sure, and he's just grown on me. I think he's just the most talented. And working with Kelly Michaels and Blake Olson, so the three of us will come back, and then we'll go to your calls. 303-696-1971. Joe Biden, what's next? Did they tell him, Joe, go out there and survive? 710 KNUS. Morning, everybody. It is a Friday, crossing the finish line. 7:10 KNUS on the air everywhere. Billy and Jeff are back Monday. I'm Peter Boyles in here today, and I'll be tomorrow morning on Saturday as well. It is going to be hot, 102, 102, 102, 103. When you hot, you hot. I am going to miss you. I was mentioning that as we rolled up to the top. I think what I'll do on my way to the gym, I'll just give you a call Monday morning. You and Kelly.
What time do you lift typically? What time do you
lift?
You're not on the bench. Come on, you're on the squat rack.
No, I'm on the life cycle.
What time are you on the life
yeah,
cycle?
yeah.
What time do you go in there?
Well, it depends, but generally by 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You're in there early.
I can't sleep.
That's good.
I mean, I got up in the middle of the
can
night
imagine.
for more years than you can imagine. And
Yeah.
even I talked to plenty of old jocks, morning jocks, that just got up in the middle of the night for 100 years.
Yeah.
And and you fall into that habit.
Yeah. I was talking to Stefan about that, texting him. I was like, man, I don't know how you did this for so long. Jeez.
Well,
man.
he did. He was on KOA when I was doing mornings on KHOW.
Yeah, exactly. You guys saw each other in the hallway.
I did.
I'm sure.
I saw him there,
Yeah.
but hey, how you doing?
at 2:30 in the morning or
3:30.
3. Yeah.
Remember the sheepdog and the wolf was a wolf or a coyote and those cartoons. Hi Herb, hi Jimmy. And they'd punch in.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey,
that was a great one.
And I don't know if you're old enough. I don't know if Kelly's old enough, because we were talking about when, quote, doctors sold you cigarettes.
That is so funny you said that. I was laughing when you were talking about, oh yeah, I remember doctors with cigarettes hanging out of their mouths.
But remember, they would have this band around their head that had a big,
had
a mirror.
Yeah, the mirror.
Yeah,
what was that all about?
What the hell was that mirror about?
I don't know.
So they could say they're a doctor?
Well, I don't know.
Hey, let's put a mirror on top. That'll make us look official.
Hey, Jimmy, put a mirror in that guy's head. No, but they always had a lab coat on, and they were a tie.
Yeah.
And they smoked Camels.
Yes.
And my grandma got the Saturday Evening Post, and I swear the back page always had, and then they had ball players. Remember, sports figures selling cigarettes.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness.
That was
baseball players.
Indeed.
I came in at a time where a lot of the players, the older guys, the veterans, when I would be in the clubhouse in Texas, when I covered the Rangers, I would look over the corner and I'd see a couple of guys, man, relief pitchers or whatever, smoking cigarettes. And I'm like, wow, that's wild when you see it firsthand. Kobe Bryant, because Kobe grew up in Italy, he smoked cigarettes.
Cal,
you gotta stay relaxed, man.
Do you remember the doctor? Like it was.
Oh yeah,
and cigarettes were good for you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's right. Calm the nerves.
Oh yeah, that was it. Calm your nerves or control your weight.
Right.
Yeah, that too.
That's true.
You could sing little songs because they had great songs, that you could sing, and there were jokes. LSMFT always had a great joke that went with it. And according to my Uncle Gene, more than ever would tell you that what that really means is that's when Uncle Gene's down about 5 or 6 Iron Cities. But
I quit smoking and I gained 20 pounds.
That was it. Yeah. Kelly, did you ever smoke?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, everybody radio smoked.
Yeah, radio business.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be the sales cubicles were just a haze of smoke. They're all in there banging the phone, lighting them up. And then on the on-airs, we would smoke around the engineers.
Or light the cigarette off the cigarette.
Well, the engineers were like, you can't smoke around the equipment.
Yeah,
It's
right.
bad for
Yeah,
the
remember
equipment.
that. Yeah, right.
So you wait for them to leave and light up,
and right away. But remember, like taking the short, and then putting a new cigarette in your mouth.
Oh yeah.
And lighting the cigarette with the burning end of the other. And Alan Berg was like a chain smoker. There were times he'd have one in his hand and one burning in the ashtray. I mean, he'd get so fired up. But the one thing you did, Tommy and I were talking about it, you cleaned the studio before you left.
Yeah.
And that's not
Hallelujah.
Empty the ashtray.
Pull the guy's cards, set his opener, make sure he had his copy in front of him, and then you could go home. And if you didn't do that, they're going to give you, or we were talking because we're making coffee this morning. I remember the first time, and where was I working? And I was a Cat Radio, and I said, "You guys have any decaf?" And they're looking, and it's like Gus Merkus, and looking at me.
Oh God!
Decaf.
I would love a picture of Gus Merkus when you asked him.
He was there.
That's awesome.
Gus Merkus, when my first year in the business, and Gus was my Jack Merker, and then Gus, but. So Gus, this is one of those, okay, you're going to learn about radio moments. So Gus takes me to this little restaurant up on Colfax, and we're gigging Cat Radio. So if you had to know him, and Gus said, hey, he said, you ever notice when you turn the radio on like Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year, he said, there's somebody there. And I went, yeah. He said, well, this year it's you.
Oh, that was Gus who told you that?
Oh, yeah, Gus.
Oh, man, I love that dude.
He said, this year it's you.
I never saw that guy smile.
Never. He was tough.
That's why
too.
he had such a great voice.
Oh, he was, and he had one of and
Pride of Frederick,
Colorado. Many trips up there. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I think who were the three best voices?
Ooh.
Steve
would
Kelly.
be one of them.
Who?
Steve Kelly.
Steve Kelly had a great voice.
Yeah.
Does have a great voice. Gus had a great voice. Who do you think the best is?
Ooh.
Out of KOA Radio.
Man,
now does the Olympics, does the World Series.
Oh, yeah.
Tick who?
Roach. Alan Roach.
Alan Roach. What a killer. And and there used to be a guy that lived, I think he lived in Fort Collins. His name was Brad. Bob Lee knew him. Brad, it'll come to me. And he was the voice for United Airlines. Remember when they played Rhapsody in Blue?
Yeah.
And that voice.
Who was the traffic reporter? I forgot. He had a great voice. You worked with him, Pete. He was in the airplane, I think.
Tony LaMonica?
No, not LaMonica. Who am I thinking of? A couple people share his name.
Well, there was Dick Dillon flew for Kim, and Bob. Come on, Peter, make your mind work.
Yeah.
But no, there were a bunch of different guys flew.
One of those
Art
guys.
Newman flew for KOA.
One of those guys I thought.
Bob Martin.
Bob Martin.
Yeah,
thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Oh man,
the other Bob Martin, or one of two, obviously.
Bob Martin was that Bob Martin. They're both of them, by the way, were just incredible influences in my life. But Bob Martin had an airplane land on him.
Really?
It was a traffic report. It was for working for Kim.
It landed on him?
He was landing in the airplane and knocked him out of the sky. Alver, somebody.
Oh, yeah, Alver. Yeah. Nice guy.
Yeah. Great guy.
Yeah. Man, we had some great traffic.
Spoke French. Alver.
He did?
He was a French Canadian. I worked with Alver. And everybody called him. We call him Alver, but it's Alverley. But he could slip into that Canuck thing pretty quick. I mean, was the business then. But everybody smoked. Everybody did what everybody did, and Gus was a heavy smoker.
Bob Palmer had a great voice, I thought. Oh, I thought he had an awesome voice.
When I'm working at KOA, and we were all in the same building, the Channel 4 building, and I was a huge Palmer fan.
Yeah, same here.
I've heard stories about him.
Oh,
they're all true.
He's the man.
He loved history, and he was a historian on the Little Bighorn, on George Custer.
Really?
Yes. And he had George Custer's shotgun. For real. He had owned it in a collection. He had a bunch of memorabilia, I guess you would call it, from George Custer, and he would come across the hall. He smoked. He was the same guy, with the guy that would the gruff guy delivering the news, and he would come over, sit in the studio with me, and we talked, and he was who he was. People like they shied from him because he was capable, but never to me. I mean, he was always, hey,
he's the one who taught me listening to him, not personally, but he said it at my younger brother's graduation. My younger brother got him to do the graduation for their high school, and he said the stories don't change, the names do.
Indeed,
right?
And that's the history wheel that it stays the same. And like this moment with Joe Biden and the moments with Richard Nixon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, very similar yet different.
Cyclical.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what? We got one more time to work together.
I know, man. I'm kind of sad. I'm going to play some sad music.
No, you
at
don't.
9 o'clock hour.
Come back and get you. Hi, man.
All right, man.
Do it.
75 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 102 today just for Peter. He'll probably get out on the motorcycle. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
With that, I'll take your questions. I've been given a list of people to call on here.
And with that, maybe the second or third worst night in the past 2 weeks for President Biden. Some state media questions, some softballs, and plenty of fiction and storytelling going on.
Our military is working. I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, the chief of staff of the military. Can you name me somebody who's gotten more major piece of legislation passed in 3.5 years? I created 2,000 jobs just last week. Today, I asked our NATO allies that we bring on the group from the South Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Australia. I already mentioned Australia.
And now let's play which is worse, this one?
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway.
Or this one.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
Because they want to get him good and strong, so a little before debate time, he gets a shot in the ass, and they want to strengthen him up.
A new state media PBS NPR poll shows that Biden holding his own, though, among voters, but Trump is within striking distance. This poll shows that if the election were held today, 50% of registered voters would support Biden, 48% for Trump. CNN reporting that Obama and negative Nancy Pelosi have held private meetings about the future of Biden's campaign. 16 congressional Democrats have called on Biden to exit the race. Blago, Rod Blagojevich, remember him? He was in Jefferson County for a while. Former governor of Illinois, who knows all about the corrupt politics in Chicago. Well, he has his take on Sniffin' Joe.
I think there'll be a combination of the carrot and the stick. And I think the elites, led by the leaders of the Democrat Party today, Obama, Pelosi, the Clintons, and others, are going to do those sorts of things behind the scenes with their allies in the media, dropping dimes on Biden and his family and his son. At the same time, they'll have, back channels to him, offering him golden parachutes and other things if he's just willing to step aside before the Democratic convention here in Chicago. But my guess is Biden's going to stay.
Wow, I think that is all spot on. We'll see. Biden says all the European leaders are backing him. What a surprise.
Our operations teams are going to be around the clock to ensure that they can respond safely and efficiently to any outage that does occur over this weekend.
That's Excel's Andrew Holder. He says, don't worry about any planned power outages this weekend. Xcel Energy officials are confident they can meet the high demand for electricity during this heat wave. Power was cut to more than 100,000 homes on the Front Range during April's massive windstorm to reduce the risk of a wildfire. A child is among 2 people dead following a crash on Highway 24 in El Paso County. Authorities say 2 vehicles collided Wednesday night. A man and a 12-year-old both died at the scene. A 9-year-old and another adult were hospitalized with serious injuries. Investigators considering whether alcohol and speed were possible factors in the crash.
Well hit to left. Gone! It's a power surge for Tyler Stevenson. He's got 2 bombs and 5 ribbies today.
And the Rockies lose in Cincinnati 8-1 on getaway day at the Mets tonight in New York. 73 in Highlands Ranch, 71 in Arvada, 75 in Denver. Pete is in on day 5, in for Jeff and Bill on TGIF. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your 710 5-day forecast. Heat advisories are in effect for Denver all the way up through Sunday. Hot with upper 90s to near or better than 100 today, tomorrow, and Sunday. Lows at night, mid to upper 60s. Nothing more than an isolated gusty late day thunderstorm. A better chance of showers and thunderstorms, not as hot by Monday and Tuesday. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
The one and only. Good morning, everyone. 710 KNUS. We had jammed up lines hitting the top of the hour. Now lines are open. It's Friday morning, July 1-2, 2024, and you just heard the man. It's going to be a hot one today, tomorrow, Sunday. And it really doesn't cool down until, well, if you think 83 is cooled down, that's Wednesday. All right, your turn, 303-696-1971. Did that man survive? Last night, I got a note again from my close friend, and this guy's inside of law enforcement. He's the man. He says, Peter, the real story is, why is it so, this is a great line, why is it so newsworthy that Biden did a press conference? That's something the average past president does on a routine basis, especially Trump. Yeah. Why is that a story so newsworthy that Biden holds a press conference? 303-696-1971. Did he survive? And what will happen? Is he on the ticket or off the ticket? The Civil War, I think, has now been launched into the American Democratic Party. And what are they going to do? All right, here we go. We go to Dino. Dino, you the man. You're on the show. Good morning.
Hey, Stud Stall Peter, how are you? I listened to the first half hour you had. I'm in Arkansas here. I went to the gym, came back, I guess, the whole thing. No one's really mentioned a couple of things. The dementia part went when he started going off on more guns that were shot on a kid.
Yeah, I saw that.
Children. Yeah. He started getting mean. That was uncalled for. I don't know. That's his part. That's progressiveness. Other than that, besides, I got tired of him lying through his teeth. The union workers have not endorsed him. Maybe the management has. The workers themselves don't want him.
Yeah, you know, down the line. Yeah, right. It isn't the old rank and file. You know, it isn't like, you know, the president of the union says it, so everybody does it. I think your point's well taken. Ronald Reagan. Remember when the working man left the Democratic Party and went for Ronald Reagan?
Oh yeah, these are Reagan Democrats. Sure,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but that's the first 10 minutes I saw that too, just like you saw in the debate when he was out of it. Yeah, he's not going anywhere. He's going to stay there. They're gonna have to blackjack him and drag him out. Yeah, Leo Gorsi and Hunts Hall and the Bowery boys ought to jump him and get him out.
What are you trying to do, man? We did a line when we were kids growing up from Hunts Hall. What are you trying to do? Make me stupid? Because remember, Leo, they'd always smack him around, you know, and he'd hey, what are you trying to do? Make me stupid?
He lived to be. He's the one who he lived the longest. So he was in his late 80s when he passed. It was good. That's always good.
When they made Angels with Dirty Faces, I just finished this book called Bogey and Bacall about Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart. It's a wonderful book. And so he goes and he he's making his turn. He doesn't know her yet, but remember Dead End, the movie Dead End.
Oh yeah, that was one that they did.
When Bogart comes back to the neighborhood, and it's a dirty, rundown neighborhood, and the wealthy kid lives in the high rise, and then here's the dead end kids. It's it's Leo Gorcey, and remember they get the guy down. Irv Braun and I, Joe Williams, used to do this, and they found the guy with his cheek had a scar on his cheek, and Leo Gorcey said, "It's the mark of the squealer."
He also had one time, they were one of the regular short skits. He's holding out people. The way Gorcey would pronounce words, he was slapping a prisoner. They captured some guy there, slapping around. He goes, "Come on, we know you got hostages down here." Let's go.
and for real,
New Yorkers.
In when they put that team together with Cagney, and that was Angels with Dirty Faces. The other one was Dead End, and they were tough kids. I mean, they were as advertised. Well, they didn't realize, Cagney was no punk.
Did you ever see?
They jumped him. They jumped Cagney.
Did you ever see John Garfield and They Made Me a Criminal?
Yes.
Tremendous. The great line in that movie at the beginning, he won the title, and all these hooker women around him, whatever. And I was doing partying with him, and his manager, a crooked manager, gonna rip him off. He goes, "Hey, what about me? I'm your friend, aren't I?" And he goes, "Yeah, for 50%, you're my friend."
Yeah. Well, and
great line.
And on the waterfront, because I just finished this book called Joe Louis and Billy Kahn about.
Yeah, you mentioned that. The Greek did that movie. Ilya Kazan did it.
Well, then it's Tony. I remember 2-ton Tony Galento, and
he went with Lewis for a long time.
Oh, he went. He surprised Lewis.
A lot of rounds. Yeah.
Do you know that he's one of the goons in On the Waterfront?
Oh yeah, and so does Fred Gwynn was in it too.
Yes, he was. Fred Gwynn was. So I went and rewatched it. Terry Malloy, and so I'm looking, and there's 2-ton Tony. They've put him in as he's a goon. He's a leg breaker for Johnny Friendly, and my brother and I do Johnny Friendly all the time. You, Johnny Friendly, and your pistoleros. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah. It was the great line in that. Well, towards the end, when Marlon Brando was trying to, was fighting Lee J. Cobb there, and the great compliment we could tell anybody. The one black dock worker turns to the rest of them and says, "Man, that boy's fighting like he used to."
Yeah.
You can't get a compliment. You can't get better than that.
What did I get? What did I get? He said, "I got a." Yeah. He got a one. He went to the Garden because fighting in the Garden was everything. But he said,
"Where the money's at."
But he told him his brother. He was. We're taking the price.
Well, the same year you should watch one of my father's favorite at the time. You probably seen before. What's the first movie William Holden ever did with Lee J. Cobb and Barbara Stanwyck? What was that? The Golden Boy.
It was the Golden Boy. He was a fighter.
1939. Yeah,
he was a fighter.
Yeah, he was 21 years old. That guy at the time. It's unbelievable. But anyway, last night, he's not going out there. It's pitiful. I don't know what to tell you. I guess your main question is going to make it to the end.
Yeah.
I think the money dries up. I don't see how but isn't it terrible? Mondale and Carter were behind in the polls too. And I didn't see the Democrats swap them out.
Listen, there's no lock on it. At the same time, you predict from it. So no, if it was a fight, what would you do with it?
Well, you have to honor it. He got up. He took an 8 count.
Standing 8. He took the standing 8. Hi, Bubba. Be safe.
Take it easy, man.
Thanks,
See you next time.
All right. We go to Eddie, 303-696-1971. Hey, Ed, was you dropped off? Got to get guys back up. Their lines are lighting up again. 303-696-1971. So got them back. Well, let's take his call, and then we'll talk about what I wanted to say. Hey, Eddie, you're up, man. Good morning. Thanks.
Good morning. Yeah, I watched the debate last night. Of course, I find this extremely interesting. What I reflect on is, Reagan won 49 out of 50 states.
Yep.
Can you imagine anybody on the political front that could pull that off today?
No.
But I thought Biden was, it's so evident that the deterioration is there. But here's my take on it. He was passed over for Hillary Clinton. Obama slighted him, and I think there's no way the guy is going to pull out, and that's my hope. Not because I'm a big, huge Trump supporter, but I despise Democratic policies. I cringe at what they would do.
I've said that. I said, if you're a Trump supporter, you want this guy to stay.
Absolutely.
You want him to be there because Trump's going to use him for a punching bag.
Yeah. No, and that's my hope, and I think that if anything keeps him in, it's because he was slighted and he wants to get even.
There's so much going on, and he denied sundowning, and I talked to all these really, really great, friends of mine who happen to be doctors, and there's not a doubt in their mind. I was with a doctor yesterday who's a good friend, and I said, I can't get him to go on the radio. That would be really, just impolite. But he said, no, he said, he's worried, he's demented. He can't be there. So in the takeaway, does he survive this?
What I think is hilarious is that the press for the last couple of years has ignored all of these foibles of his and these stupid remarks that he's made, and now they can't help but point out every single one. It's completely flipped.
It's really been an interesting. So if we were to average these appearances, and this is something I don't know if it's worth a conversation, but if you averaged his appearances that you've watched, what letter grade do you give him, Ed?
Well, of course, the debate was beyond F. Last night, I'd give a C-. I mean, he could put words together, and he's like a wind-up doll. I could have given the same answers. The CNN commentators afterwards making him out like a genius.
Oh, CNN.
Come on.
How about I brought this up before, the wait. We waited, I think, 48 minutes, and and without even saying, folks, I'm sorry, but
Any moment now.
CNN.
I was ready to throw a rock.
CNN. Any moment now. And I said, you've been saying that for 40 minutes, and I actually said to myself, he's not coming out. He's not going to, like they call them curtain jerkers, right? They're not jerking the curtain. He's not.
Well, it's like you said, he's in the corner. Come on now, come on.
Yeah.
Slapping his cheeks.
Oh, they are. Yeah, don't you think they shot him up? And that's somebody like slapping him around. Come on, stay with him. And it really was. I think in prize fighting talk, he had to survive the round.
The sad thing is, as bad as he is, Trump has not taken advantage of it in terms of putting forward a positive agenda. And
but he's not.
Anybody else would be jumping into polls. This hasn't moved that much.
No,
there is a possibility he could pull it off.
Oh, listen, anything and everything. Trump's up, I think, 2 or 3 points, which is a lot given where he was when he got convicted in New York. And you look at those numbers, and you look at the numbers that are available this morning. Now, either Joe's dropped like a rock, or Donald's come up, or maybe a little bit of both. But no, it's a horse race now. It really is.
I don't forget that Hillary Clinton was up by 10 points and lost to him. So these polls, I mean, what they used to be and what they are now, it's crap.
There's a wonderful book that I always push. It's entitled Shattered. What really put Hillary in the ground is when she said the deplorables, when she called those, and these guys were in Indiana, Wisconsin doing this book, and these were blue collar warehouse men and hard workers, and these guys, in essence, they're saying in a chorus, we did this for you, we did that for you, we did this for you. Now you're calling us racist. My kid's got a meth Jones. The Albertsons just closed on the corner. Screw you.
Yeah. Well, and they're singing the same song today, calling anybody that wants to vote against Biden as wanting to destroy democracy.
Oh, sure.
Come on.
But again, if you're down to jingoism, and that's just, slogans and jingoism, but the proof will be in the pudding. Final question to you, and I love your call. You think there'll be a second debate? You're in Joe's corner.
That's an excellent question. Yes, I do think there will be, and I can't wait to see it. I mean, it couldn't be any worse than the first one.
If I were Joe's manager, and you go, Joe, look, don't get in there with him, and he's not, because he's gonna tie you up, and he's gonna knock you out, and unless he has no And remember, they called for these debates. That was the other part of it too. They asked for the fight.
All they had to do was say he's a convicted felon, keep him in the basement and in front of the teleprompter. They'd have been just fine.
Oh, man.
Yep.
You take care.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Have a weekend. Thanks, man. Good call. We have a line open. Where are we, sir? One more call. I will do one more call. We go to Jeff. Jeff, you waited. Good morning. You're on the show.
Good morning. Good to hear your voice early in the morning.
Thank you, sir.
So, and hey, I was when you guys were talking, I used to smoke cigarettes back in the day and everything, you know, and a picture that I bought off of eBay, I had to have it, and I framed it, put it up, and it's a great photo of Arnold Palmer and Ben Hogan on the tee box.
Cigarettes.
You know what I mean? And they're both cigarettes in their mouth. Yeah, you know, looking down the fairway. Such a classic picture. Gosh.
So you smoked as a kid?
Yeah, I did in college, you know, through after high school and stuff for a while, but I quit. Yeah.
What was the brand that you smoked?
Camel. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Well, my dad smoked Camel non-filter, right? So he would always put them out in the yard, and then us kids, we'd go get them. And so we practiced on the Camel non-filters, you know, and then I went with filters. So.
All right. Let me ask you a question that you don't have to answer. Did you ever steal a cigarette out of your father's cigarette pack?
You know, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. My mother smoked Territons. My father smoked Luckies. And my Uncle Gene smoked Camels. My Uncle Gene's a huge influence in my life. But you remember on the side of the Lucky Strike pack, it said LSMFT.
Okay.
And for those of us, so you don't, but those of you who remember, we can't do it. It's not airable. But I was about 12 or something, and Uncle Gene let that one fly. And the old man just came out of his chair. And he said, you know what that means? No, Uncle Gene, what? And he told me. And I couldn't wait to go tell other kids. But you can't do it. I think anybody that knows. But
I don't know that one. Yeah, that's beyond my time. I was born in the 70s. I was born in 75. So I'm young, really.
If you can ask somebody. Maybe hey, Google it. Because we say what LSMFT meant. It was like something about tobacco or something, but it.
Oh man,
we said it meant. My Uncle Gene said it to me. I'm like, I tell you, I had two great uncles. My Uncle Barney, my Uncle Gene. Is it in there, boss? Is it? Don't say it. If it's, we'll both be looking for.
Lucky Strike
means fine tobacco.
Yeah.
There's another one. I'll tell you during the break. But
it's amazing how it's changed stuff just with cigarettes.
Well, you can't still say that, but
no. I'm just saying, as far as the whole cigarette thing, like I remember being a kid and we had a stack of ashtrays underneath the sink, you know, and then my dad, when it was time he wanted to smoke a cigarette, he's sitting there in the chair. I was the kid. I was the guy that got to go get the ashtray. You know, I always thought it was neat. Go pick out the color. You know, you're like, ooh, I'm gonna get the purple one. You know,
you'd be in a car. And my dad had like the worst cars. My dad actually had a Kaiser, the old bathtub Kaisers. Windows are rolled up. You know, it's after Halloween. My mother's smoking and my dad's smoking. The windows are rolled up. There was 4 kids in the car. I think we were all addicted to nicotine by the time we're 12 because you're in there breathing that stuff, you know, a secondhand smoke and like, you know, little baby in the front seat with here's my brother. Sure. And they're hoovering cigarettes, man. Take care. All right. And please don't call on air and tell me what that means. But for those of you in radio land that know, you know, I'll tell Kelly right after this.
At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. President Joe Biden defended his position as a fully capable leader and the best person to protect national security at the end of the NATO summit. But he's still dealing with challenges to his leadership, including from Democrats, especially after a couple of new slip-ups. Caroline Malone reports.
President Joe Biden touted his NATO track record and talked of how he had warned the world of Russia's imminent invasion 2 years ago and how he and his allies are holding President Putin to account. But a cloud was hanging over his speech that he made at the end of the NATO summit, with many questioning both publicly and behind closed doors whether he should run again for the Democratic Party. He made a few slip-ups, earlier calling Ukrainian President Zelensky Putin, and during his speech calling Vice President Harris Trump. But he has said he will run again and that he'll take a neurological test if that's what's needed.
If you struggle to pick out the right shade of foundation or the best colour lipstick, then help is at hand thanks to artificial intelligence. A South Korean firm is offering customers robot mixed face products that AI judges to be the right colour for your skin tone. It's the latest innovation from an industry that's using more AI to help boost sales. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm John Beaver in the UK on Salem News Channel.
It is 8:38, 22 minutes before the hour of 9 o'clock on another hot day. It's a Friday, 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles. Back to the phones we go. Hey, Sarah, thank you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hi. After the Biden's speech last night, I really am for Trump. Trump is my bully. Biden seems, and his party seems that they want to bully us into a different lifestyle, climate change, open borders, so on and so forth, and to protect Europe and protect Ukraine. And Trump seems to want to protect Americans first. And against all odds, I hope Trump wins.
Well, you know, there was, and if you go and compare and contrast, and I'm just talking about imaging and numbers, when Donald Trump came out and was convicted in New York, and that seems like a lifetime ago. And then, and it was spotlight on Donald Trump, and it was Donald Trump all the time. And talk radio was about defending Donald Trump, and the news outlets and everybody. Now, Donald who? And he is, I think, playing this very wise. He's not, when that line that says, when your enemy is destroying himself, don't try to help, just step back. And they're getting ready for Milwaukee. And now it's spotlight on Joe Biden. And that's why people say that, 30 days is a lifetime in politics. So we have, now Milwaukee is about to begin. Who knows what that convention is going to be like in Chicago, given.
Right. But,
oh, man.
I'm sorry. Yeah. But I just don't feel that Biden has ever been for the American people.
Well, that, you're feeling.
And I think it's just so apparent. It was like an epiphany last night that I said, oh my God, he doesn't want us to be dominant anymore or win, or he wants to radically change us.
But again, these guys, and remember, he's an old school Democrat. He's an old traditional. And
I used to be also, and my family.
Oh, well, growing up, of course. I mean,
growing up, absolutely.
Man, we were all Dems. And when did you quit being a Democrat?
When my kids were born, and I started volunteering working and volunteering into school, schools and so on and so forth. And I kept feeling I was being lied to, which it comes. I've been lied to, and it is such a rude awakening.
I've been cheated, and I've been lied to.
I've been cheated.
I heard words.
I didn't even know it.
I heard words I hadn't read in the Bible. No.
Right, and I mean, I voted Democrat all the way, and I've been lied to. America, I think, has been lied to.
I've been conned.
I've been conned, and I didn't even know it.
That's right. I want my money back. I want my money back.
I want my votes back. I want my money back. And why do a lot of diehard Democrats still, why don't they see this?
Well, there's an old saying that's called the yellow dog Democrat. Have you ever heard that expression?
Well, being from a European, no. Well, yes, but no. I never knew what it meant.
Well, I didn't know any Republicans growing up. I just do it. But they would. Right. There's a thing called a yellow dog Democrat, and it goes like this: "You see that yellow dog over there?" And I go, "Yeah." I said, "If that yellow dog was a Democrat, I'd vote for it." And that line became yellow dog Democrats. And they would say, "You see that yellow dog over there?" And they some DAWG, right? See that? Yeah. If that dog was a Democrat, I'd vote for it. That's a yellow dog. And my turn came with Reagan. Reagan changed me, and but we were working class, blue collar, and of all the people, Reagan was really that guy in real life. Except he, like you said, because when you look at how they grew up, Ronald Reagan's childhood was rough, and his father was alcoholic, and Jack Reagan, his father was alcoholic, and they moved a lot, and he and his brother Neil, and yet he became who he became. It's in now. Great call, Sarah. Thank you. I'm going to miss a lot of this. 710 KNUS, the boss is saying, turn it around. Did he survive the fight last night? And watching him last night, did that guy look like a guy that's quitting? And right now, if you want to watch true idiocy, the Colorado Republican Party is a civil war. And it's a junk ball. It's just horrible. That's what the national Democrats are going to turn into. Watch the civil war. Actually, it's already begun. Your calls are coming right up. Jeff and Bill back Monday. I'm Peter Boyles. I got tomorrow morning here, 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station, Kelly Michaels and Peter Boyles and the one, the only, Blake Olson all together. Again, jammed lines. Let's go. Here we go to Jay. Hey, Jay, you're on the show, man. Good morning.
Good morning. Great show, Peter. How are you?
Thank you. I'm well. Thank you.
Great. So last night I watched it 2 in the morning working on my laptop. The Harder They Fall movie with Humphrey Bogart, Rod Steiger, and Max Baer.
You know who wrote it? Bud Schulberg. Bud Schulberg, who also helped on the waterfront. And they were God, well, what a great film. That's really about Primo Carnera.
Yeah, you know what it's about? It's about Joe Biden.
Oh,
and
how good!
And Obama, and they're taking falls, and they're going around the country and they're fighting, and they're having these fighters take falls for the champ.
Sure.
And at one point, they put wire in his mouthpiece, so the kid was a Hispanic guy, Indian. He could take a fall for the champ in the first round and not lose face with his Indian tribe members.
I know it well, and actually, it's a really Kazan, I think, made the film, but it's a book, and the guts of prize fighting, and there was they called him the Ambling Alp, is what they called him. He's a guy named Primo Carnera. He ended up in pro wrestling, is where Carnero ended up, and God, what's the film that's so good? But the guy and Anthony Quinn plays the fighter, and in the end, he's a wrestler. They flipped him, and his managers are Jackie Gleason and Mickey Rooney. And what a brutal film that is, And
one part of the movie, Bogart is an ex-sports writer. He goes to work for Steiger. Steiger is an absolutely crooked promoter, and so Bogart tells Steiger, the promoter, he goes, "Your guy's not going to take a fall for this." And so Bogart walks into the hotel room and meets with Baer. And Baer's got a sore neck. He can't move. He's got some problems. And basically they expose the fact that in this film's portrayal, none of it's real, which is not true. But man, was it great. Great. Well, it relates to today's world.
Well, they built the gate for him. I mean, I've had this discussion many times. There was a guy named Frankie Carbo, and I don't know if Steiger's playing Frankie Carbo in that, but Bud Schulman had to know all of this. But Frankie Carbo ran boxing, and he was I think he was a Gambino, and they ran prize fighting. I mean, Jay, I mentioned that one of the highlights of A Very Lucky Life is I got to spend over an hour with Jake LaMotta. We did a television show together and then sat and talked. And Jake, to get the title shot, it was called the Fox Fight. And he went into the tank and took, and in Brando, as Terry Malloy, he said, and his brother comes to him and says, "We're taking the price. You're going in the tank." And one of the Jake LaMotta, who did a lot of crazy things with his life, he laid down. The mob collected big money. Then he got his title shot.
So today we've got Joe who needs to take a fall with dignity. And how do they do that?
How do they do it?
Because exactly. That's my question. How do they do it?
Is he going to go? I mean, I wrote big deal. Does that guy look like a guy who's quitting? You watched him last night.
No.
I agree.
And what disrespect to the American people and all the folks waiting around for how many hours last night? Not even I'm sorry.
No, I brought that up. It angered me. Big deal.
We're the chumps. We're the chumps.
I said, if I didn't have to do that radio show tomorrow, would I? Because I was going off to see a bunch of my friends for the get together, and they're the loves of my life. They're the hoot, right? And I said, no, they were motorcyclists, and so we were. All right, brother. As always, thank you. Before we start another call, why don't we're close to the top, aren't we, boss? We got a minute. Well, we'll wait. We'll hang on. So one line's open, 303-696-1971. I get to come back here tomorrow and do it again on a Saturday show, but it's been wonderful. We'll come back with Blake and all of us. There's a lot of really nice messaging coming in. I really appreciate you guys saying this. But watching Joe Biden and watching that press conference and everything that went with it, he can't stay, but he ain't going to go. And if the replication of the insanity of what now is left of the Colorado Republican Party will become the civil war of the Democratic Party. And if you're a Trump or Republican voter, you better hope this guy stays. You want him. We come right back after the turn 710 in the US. $7:10 KNUS, my final hour of the Monday through Friday show, and I'm back tomorrow morning at 9 here on Radio Free Denver, good old 710 KNUS. The weather, 102 Saturday, 103 on Sunday. Kelly Michaels, who has been just a joy to work for all these years, and bored up the morning, but the real icing on the cake was to spend time with this guy, Blake Olson. And I mentioned that I go to the gym early in the morning, and I generally catch the first hour of Billy and Jeff. Will be back, of course, on Monday. And when they put this guy in the edition, and he was added to the show, I'm kind of one of those guys. Okay, and
what are you doing?
No, yeah, no, and you won me, and when you win me, who's pretty radio critical, and this week of working together has just been a joy, and with being with Kelly. And so I want to thank you, man. Blake, I
want to thank you, Pete. This is an honor, and it's been it's always a blessing to work with you guys and you, and just learning from you. I love it, man. You are such a natural. Wow. It is so difficult to do this, and people have no idea what you've been able to do over the years. It's just awesome. It's a conversation, and you feel comfortable, and you make, you put people at ease if they're listening, even if it gets a little heated, man. That's what it's all about. And you're awesome, man.
You're kind, but we mellow out.
That's right. Don't start smoking cigarettes today,
yeah.
Okay?
So
what? I have to correct something. I said Bob Martin. I meant Don Martin.
Okay,
of course.
Sure.
Yeah. Traffic reporter.
But Bob Martin was.
Oh, he had a great voice too. He was awesome.
And both he and Larry are now gone. I went to Larry's funeral. Bob didn't have a funeral, but they were sports talk in Denver.
Yes,
KOA.
No doubt.
And they were the voices of the Broncos. And Larry Zimmer, I skied with Larry quite a bit, and skied with his now widow Bridget.
Yeah,
but
she's awesome.
Oh, but Bob, he loved the opera. And he was
I heard about that.
Guy was and I say this, guy was a real intellectual. And when we would talk, he would talk about great books. He was a conservative guy, talked about politics. And
that's awesome.
I don't think I ever talked about sports with that guy once.
Is that right?
Yeah. And they had that was KOA. KOA had the CU Buffs, and they had the Broncos.
Had the Bears, the Denver Bears.
But then they tried. They had the Bears, and
they had CU basketball and football. But they had the Denver Bears, and a guy named, I should have said this because he was kind of he was the guy I wanted to be. It was Mark Holtz.
Oh man,
good guy. I don't know. Yeah,
good
man.
Good
guy. I don't know if you worked with him.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so we grew up listening to Denver Bears games, AAA games with Mark Holtz, and he was. I loved his voice, and I was able to meet him before he passed away.
Yep.
But I worked in Dallas, and he was the voice of the Texas Rangers.
Yep.
And I got to meet him later on in my life, and spent some time with him in the press box because I snuck up to the press box when I was a kid to meet him when he was doing Bears games at Mile High. So
those are distinctive. Kelly,
man.
What baseball did you listen to as a kid growing up? What?
Detroit Tigers.
Who was the voice?
Ernie Harwell.
All right, there you are. All right,
he was the best. I mean, in my mind,
of course,
he was hard to beat. I even liked him, and I really didn't listen to him a lot, but I feel like he was top 3, no doubt.
I grew up in the Pirates, and it was Bob Prince, the gunner.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and there's so many stories about Bob Prince, and now that I get into the business and I meet people that worked in that era that talked about Prince, and if half of
Pete, were you working at KOA when Holtz did the fireworks game? I was at the stadium, and there were 78,000 people at a AAA baseball game, and there were fireworks afterward, and he went nuts. It was the greatest broadcast. Were you there then or not?
The ones that I went to were when Barry Fay would put on the All-Star games, and he would bring, and he brought Willie Mays in, and he brought Joe D, and Poppy Bush played first base because he had played at Yale, and Barry put him on 1B, and I mean, it was.
Oh, that's cool.
And then he brought Jerry Lee Lewis in to be the entertainment.
Really?
Yeah, and me and the old man, we had Jerry Lee at the warehouse, and that was like, watch out. But
Man. Was he wearing nudies?
The killer? Nah, he was the killer. He was like.
I think. What'd you call it? Nudies, right?
Nudie suits.
Nudie
Honorable
suits.
mention for Bob Uecker at TMJ in Milwaukee.
Okay. All right.
Who's still doing some
man.
games.
Yes.
He's still calling some games.
That is incredible. He is great.
But if you think of those guys, and I've written a short story about. I worked in a pool room when I was a kid, and in the summer, and you could cut through the alleys to get to the street to get to my dad's house. And a lot of, I don't know why, back in that time period, a lot of them were day games. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And people had, you guys remember, both of you grew up in those places, the screens, that one size screens fit all. You could expand it, make it go away.
Yes.
They always had holes in them, flies got in them and everything.
Yes.
And I don't know why people put their radios in the windowsill. And I walk and I could listen to a game going home.
So you mentioned that the other day, and you're right. Yeah,
that's really
came
cool.
off of this radio, that radio, and and I don't know why, and there's no reason to know why, but seemingly like the radio sat on the window ledge.
Mm-hmm. You just reminded me of my favorite sports movie. You asked the other day, I think on Monday or Tuesday, but 61 is to me. Was so good. It reminded me of that. You talking about that? It's just
that was
a great movie.
And everybody. Well, Pittsburgh's a sports town.
Yeah.
And is Denver a sports town?
We're gonna get all the calls.
No, definitely not. Definitely not the baseball side, and that's not picking on the Rockies
because they're not winners,
right? But
they still show up.
Yeah,
I think Denver's I think Denver is a very, very good sports town. I think it's a Broncos town. And then, and then they support whoever wins. But the hockey fans or the Avalanche fans are great fans. No doubt.
Tell you,
Agreed.
Jim Turner and JT and I worked together, and he talked about sports coverage. And he said, you don't know nothing till you go to New York.
No doubt.
Yeah, there's something special about the East Coast markets their love for baseball.
Yeah,
and I think you've got to have that before you can be called a sports town.
Great point.
Because the Baltimores and the Pittsburghs, those people live, breathe, regardless of the season.
Yes.
And the weather is so bad, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Like here, we go skiing, we go outside, in the middle of winter, you get a nice day, you can ride your bike, whatever, go skiing. Pittsburgh, no.
And where Kelly's from, Michigan, I mean, that
same thing.
And then you have the college football history with Michigan.
Yeah, but we also have the Lions.
And true.
We had a gag,
but you had Alex Karras. So
I did a radio show with Alex.
You
Karras.
did?
I did.
Oh man, that guy, talk about talented.
Well, what we talked about,
I thought he was funny.
He was the best. And what we talked about was when he fought Dick the Bruiser. After he got caught. Remember when he got caught? He got caught gambling. And he and Paul Hornung, and they got suspended.
That's right.
He needed money.
That's right.
And I think is it Cobo? Is that the big?
Yeah, Cobo Hall.
Cobo Hall. They did wrestling. And so he tells me, and I knew Dick the Bruiser. I mean, I didn't know him, but I worked with him at Peter. Hey, Dick. His name was Richard Alphys, and Dick the Bruiser. he actually played for the Green Bay Packers.
Yes,
and that's where Bay Pirelli had Dick the Bruiser stories, and and Babe met him, and so he said, they went to the Bruiser, and they go, okay, we're gonna, and they were gonna make it a work, and they're gonna have a bad problem at I think Karras had a bar, or his father-in-law had a bar, and I forget which one. But they were going to have an incident in the bar with Dick the Bruiser and Karras, and it was going to be a work. It wasn't going to be a shoot,
right?
And they were going to sell it out. And so Karras is out on his can. He didn't have any income because he's not getting paid. He's not playing ball. Mm-hmm. So somehow when the Bruiser shows up, and you had to know the Bruiser, when the Bruiser shows up, he's kicked in the ass. He's drunk. and and he gets into it with, and he hammers Karras's father-in-law or something. I don't know what all happened, and Karras gets into it, and the Detroit cops come, and somebody takes a billy, and they open up Dick the Bruiser's forehead. When those guys, because they're blading all the time, they have their skin's like tissue paper, and so they call it juicing. The pro wrestling, they call bleeding, they call it juicing. So the bruiser juices, and I got a picture, and I've never seen it, but Karras told me that's what we talked about for about an hour, and they put the chains on him. They had him all chained up. And he's leaning forward, and blood's coming down his forehead. And I mean, the cops legitimately billied him. And I said, "How'd that work out?" He said, he called him Richard the Bruiser. He said, Richard and I, he said, we sold out Kobo 5 times. and the guys that knew Dick the Bruiser, I mean, that was like, but they knew, and Heenan introduced me to the Bruiser. And my cousin to Crusher, and those guys, there's a thing called Crusher Fest every year in Milwaukee.
Yes,
where everybody gets together that loves the Crusher.
Yes, he's legend.
That is funny.
Oh, we ought to go to it, especially the three of us.
What a perfect town!
I'd rather go to that than the RNC.
Me too. I just brain gassed that, and I went like,
"Amen."
Well, I know. I talked to Mandy. We were texting yesterday. Mandy's going off to Milwaukee. I'm going, but I go to, and they have a bronze statue of the Crusher.
Oh yeah.
And his daughters come, and they look like the Crusher. They do. The Crusher was, I got to tell you, when I was a kid, the Crusher was a heel.
Oh,
Yeah, Reggie Lazowski was the Crusher's name. Reggie Lazowski. And
of course.
Oh yeah, it was. Final story. When we're talking, and Babe Pirelli was like, I can't tell you what a to know him for me was like a big over the top thing, because he was a Pittsburgh kid. He was the Sugar Babe, man. He was like Babe Pirelli story, and he tells me that they won. And I wish my dad were alive and everything, because when I met him, I wanted to pick up the phone and call my dad, say, guess who I'm sitting with, because he was,
oh, wow.
I mean, he was, they had won this high school championship, and he's good to go. He's going to Kentucky. He's going to play football for Bear Bryant in Kentucky. And he's got it all. And they're immigrants. I mean, his folks are immigrants, and they're dirt poor. And he's got the American dream. And they win their game. Thanksgiving Day, the phone rings. It's the captain of the other team. Said, you're lucky.
No way.
Babe said, and there's every reason to believe him, we climbed the fence and played the game again. No equipment. I mean, that's how tough, hard-nosed these kids are. No, it's not my story.
That is a great story.
And I said, what happened?
Awesome.
Babe said, we won the game. And he said, then we won the fight.
Yeah, he's a Pittsburgh guy. Oh man, that's cool.
And he told stories. So he gets to Green Bay and playing for Lombardi, and he's a rookie, and he gets to Green Bay. He's got all this acclaim because of, he's Sugar Bowl, man. He's the Sugar Babe.
Yes.
And he gets there, and he said, he's sitting there. He said, Peter, he said, this great big guy's eating with both hands at the training table. And I said, who? I said, babe. He said, it was Dick the Bruiser.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because so when you introduce the Bruiser, because everybody had an intro, you had to do their, and so the storyline, the kayfabe on the Bruiser was that he had been thrown out of the NFL.
Yes, that's true.
And so when you had this ring card, right, and you cupped it in your hand, and you had the mic, and you go, and the man, too tough for the NFL.
Right.
And that's
they had to throw him out.
Oh, they had to throw him out, and which of course he just got cut. But
the legend of Dick the Bruiser, and to tell you how big of a deal he is in the Midwest,
huge.
That's my grandmother's favorite wrestler.
Oh, wow.
Oh, right.
She loved
No
Dick
kidding.
the Bruiser.
Everybody loved Dick
Yeah.
the Bruiser.
Man.
Hell yeah.
That's a Midwestern thing. No doubt.
You know, when you did, they called them programs. You know, you work it up to a payoff, and
That's
then you
cool.
start again. And I got to know the Crusher, you know, pretty well. And they were shooting an angle, working an angle where there had to be a payoff. And it was against the Heenans, and it was, you know, all of that. So finally, in the end, we're shooting this promo, and we're doing a Channel 2, the old bunker, Channel 2, and so the Crusher's there, and they had a box that the wrestlers would stand on when they're, and because I'm not a big guy, but you'd be real big, right? And you hold the mic and he go, "All right, Peter," and you do that, and we did. The streets are going to run red with blood. And there's no cable, right? Nobody knows anything. There's no satellite. There's no internet. And you can do the same match every night.
That is funny.
And he would grab the mic. The streets are going to run red with blood. And where the hell the first night we did, not Cheyenne, but come on, Casper.
Oh,
and the streets are going to run red with blood, Casper, on Tuesday night. And then it was
Casper.
Casper. I got
And then
it
down to Cheyenne.
and then we shoot the same thing. All right, yeah, the streets are going to run red. And Friday night in Denver and the rest of it. So
That's great.
oh no, so they're working to the top of this thing, and it's going to be, you know, the crescendo show. And he said, and I didn't know they had it, and they had a picture of Dick the Bruiser. He said, "There's only one answer to this." and he said, he's got the mic. He said, "I'm bringing in the Bruiser." Bigger than hell, Dick the Bruiser.
That is so cool.
I met the Bruiser that night, and he said, "Introduce me like this." Gave me a card. Man, too tough for the NFL.
Speaking of great voices, that's funny.
And you never knew. That was really
Right.
like you never knew, you know. And but when they like to drink beer, and remember the Crusher would go, you know, dance the polka, and but you're right. Everybody loved that. Everybody loved those guys.
Polka, I love it.
The Crusher.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
I think he's legitimately from Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think Crush is from Milwaukee.
And I think Dick the Bruiser, was he really a Detroit guy, or was he somewhere in the Midwest?
I'm not sure, but it seems like Detroit was.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
Richard Alphys. That was his real name. Richard Alphys. And because I saw the paycheck. Else I would have not known. Yeah, but it was Richard Alphys. Really? Richard Alphys? That's Dick the Bruiser? Dick the Bruiser. You can't go wrong, can you? With guys like
do
that?
the voice one more time.
They talk to you like this. And give me the microphone. But they'd snatch it. You knew they were going to take the mic out of your hands. They just, you know, like, and they had a box, like it was like a riser, and maybe 5 inches tall. But they'd get on the box because actually the Crusher was, we call those guys solid, but he wasn't real big. And the Bruiser had been a lineman, and he wasn't, you know, he was more of a fire plug. But when they stepped up on the box, they became much bigger than you. And I'm a little guy anyhow, but they snatched the mic. "I'll tell you what, Peter." And they point at the camera, you know.
That is so cool.
But I'm trying to write this stuff. So I'm shooting factory outlet commercials for Joe, you know, free hammer or turkey. And the guy that Harry Vallis, rent to own.
Oh yeah,
remember
Harry
rent to own?
Vallis, yes.
So
I don't know if Kelly remembers
Harry Vallis, rent to own, Color
on
Times.
Broadway, right?
Yeah. And I loved him, honest to God.
Yes.
Oh, I got to
He
tell you,
seemed like a great dude.
Blake. I mean, he was, and so they rented furniture to people.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, renting furniture.
You're right.
I mean, I understand it. So Heenan's over there, and Heenan's watching all of this because we're getting ready to shoot wrestling. And so I introduced Harry Vallis. Harry Vallis, a big mark, and they're talking. So now it's time to shoot the promo with Heenan. And he said, what did they call him? 9 to 5 lifers, or you know, they put you down. You know, at home sitting on that rented furniture. Hey, look, he just picked it up from Harry Vallis, and he started, you're at home sitting on that rented furniture.
So were you doing these at Channel 2 on Spear?
Yeah,
Okay,
we did them
so
all. We did them all there.
And you said the bunker. I was cracking
It was the
up
bunker.
at
And
that.
they did them. We did them for, we're working for Vern Gagne. So we're working for Vern. And through Gene Reed was the local promoter.
Gene.
Remember Gene Reed? Yeah.
Gene.
And then we would come and but they did the big ones in Minnesota with a guy named Marty O'Neill.
Oh, okay.
And Marty wore sunglasses when he's doing it. Wait a minute. And then we would do the individual shows. And they all worked for Vern, and a guy named Wally Carbo, who was great storyteller. And I traveled with Wally a little bit. And I said, I don't know why we're killing time here last hour, but he tells me this story. I said, what was the craziest night? And he said, they're in Quebec, and it's after the Second World War. And of course, they're French, and they had the Von Erichs and Carl Schmidt or somebody. Remember, that's Fritz von Erich. That's the Von Erichs that make the movie The Claw, and they do Nazis. I mean, the war's over, and they were coming in the ring in those helmets and armbands and boots, and they're playing Nazis without, I guess. And so
that's entertainment.
Oh,
yeah, right.
I remember, and when wrestling, before wrestling got correct, but Japanese were sneaky, and like all that kind of stuff. They played it out. Black people had hard heads. They're playing it out. And so he said we had this promo that there was Eduardo Carpentier, and I don't know why I remember, and some other French Canadian wrestler versus the Nazis. And remember, the Germans had run all over. They had run all over the French, treated the French. So everybody's got a
beautiful Pepe something.
And it was at work, but he said, and he said we never got it off. He said that they stormed the ring, and he said we fought them, and he said we fought them across the street. We fought them into the hotel lobby. No, for real. They're fighting the marks. And then he said when Bobo Brazil, who I was like, I met Bobo, and I forget, it was Johnny Valentine, I think, and they had given him a trophy for something, and Johnny Valentine came out and broke it. I was a kid watching that. Oh yeah, and they had
That's awesome.
Oh, but when you're marking for it, man. Like my grandma was a mark, total mark. And we had Bruno as a kid, man. Cool. Bruno Sammartino. He was every bit.
If I can remember 10% of what at age 70, I'm going to be really happy.
80. Do the news.
Yeah. All right, man.
Me too.
Hey, great working with you, Pete.
Me too at 70.
Yeah, I know you're in your 70s. 82 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 102 and a record-setting day today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
We're sitting around. This for Kamala is so good as well. We're sitting around. More children are killed by a bullet than any other cause of death. The United States of America. What the hell are we doing? What are we doing?
Sometimes he was yelling, and sometimes he was whispering, and most of the time he wasn't making any sense.
Look, like I said, I'm dealing with Xi right now and direct contact with him. I have no good reason to talk to Putin right now. There's not much that he is prepared to do in terms of accommodating any change in his behavior.
That's weird, because I thought he saw Putin earlier in the night. No, wait a minute. That was his business partner.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway.
And then a match made in heaven, his new running mate, former President Trump.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president until I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
Where's Hunter? Remember the sign? Where's Hunter? Where's Hunter? He's in the White House. Hunter is in the White House running government right now, they say. The radical left Democrats have spent this entire election posing as defenders of democracy. You ever hear Biden? He's a threat to democracy. He doesn't even know what the hell the term is. Trump is a threat to democracy.
So, of course, that was a few days ago. We'll see if he cools down with all of that as Biden continues to try to stay afloat. But then after all this, a new state media, PBS, NPR poll shows Biden holding his own with voters, but Trump is within striking distance. The poll shows that if the election were held today, 50% of registered voters would support Biden, 48% for Trump.
What the hell's going on out here?
All right, 16 congressional Democrats have called on Biden to exit the race, and CNN reports Obama and negative Nancy Pelosi have held private meetings to figure out how they can force Biden out. I mean, ask him to step aside. And I know she's not as smart as Karine Jean-Pierre, but then again, who is? Kellyanne Conway understands foreign policy under Biden.
Is when he says Donald Trump didn't have foreign policy as a strong suit. That's just wrong. People want that peace through strength from Trump back. The ISIS caliphate gone. North Korea not shooting off its nukes. Soleimani and Baghdadi, smithereens, pals. The trade deals. China capitulating to Trump on trade and fentanyl restrictions. So we want that foreign policy back. It turns out Vladimir Putin doesn't fear Joe Biden.
Biden said last night all the European leaders are backing him. What a surprise.
Our operations teams are going to be around the clock to ensure that they can respond safely and efficiently to any outage that does occur over this weekend.
Excel's Andrew Holder, he says, hey, don't worry about any planned power outages this weekend. Xcel Energy officials are confident they can meet the high demand for electricity during the weekend of heat. Power was cut more than 100,000 homes. You may remember that right here on the Front Range during the massive windstorm in April to reduce the risk of a wildfire. And AT&T believes that a hacker has stolen records of calls and texts from almost all of its wireless customers. The company announced this morning that the stolen data doesn't include the content of calls or texts or personal info like social security numbers or birth dates. It does include which numbers a customer interacted with and data like how long a call lasted. The Rockies lose to the Reds 8-1 on getaway day. And tonight is the Mets. The Rockies take it on the Mets tonight. 81 in Parker, 78 in Lakewood, and 82 in Denver. Pete's Power Hour coming up in for Jeff and Bill for the last part of this hour. Blake Olson, enjoy your weekend. News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your 710 5-day forecast. Heat advisories are in effect for Denver all the way up through Sunday. Hot with upper 90s to near or better than 100 today, tomorrow, and Sunday. Lows at night, mid to upper 60s. Nothing more than an isolated gusty late day thunderstorm. A better chance of showers and thunderstorms, not as hot by Monday and Tuesday. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com.
Morning, everybody. 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station. And it's been just a really wonderful week with Blake and, of course, with Kelly Michaels and Mark Crowley and everybody that's on the job. Back tomorrow morning on a Saturday, but I get a 9 o'clock start. 303-696-1971. We have open lines, and this is Francis, who waited forever. You get a tip of the hat, Francis. Good morning.
Oh, hey, you guys. Hey, no, that's not a problem at all. I've enjoyed listening to the wrestling talk. I remember Gene Reed doing the kind of like pre-match and post-match breakdowns. And you know what I keep thinking? Every time you guys talk about the Crusher, there was a Bugs Bunny cartoon episode that featured a cartoon Crusher and Bugs Bunny outwitting him. And it was funnier than heck because just the way they would reference the Crusher. I just thought it was funny.
The real Crusher.
So, I remember the real, yeah.
Yeah, no,
it was great.
Oh, I mean, that was, that was before it's called kayfabe, you always protected the business. And so, and they don't call you're not a fan, you're a mark, just like a carny, you're the mark.
Yeah.
And so when you mark for somebody, my grandma was a mark. I mean, when you mark for somebody, and I marked. As a little kid, we all marked. We were marks, and they call you a mark. They never once said, he's a fan. They said he's a mark.
No.
You're a mark.
Yeah, you would plan on. I remember watching that wrestling stuff. Our little local Denver one. With Gene Reed and things like that.
Of course.
And man, I remember specifically, if you knew Baron von Raschke was showing up,
Jim Raschke.
That would be
Jim Raschke from Omaha, Nebraska, was legitimately, and he was an AAU champion. His last name was Raschke, but they put that thing together, and you know what? Good guy, really good guy, and
was he?
Oh, legitimately tough. Really tough.
Oh, I'm sure he was.
And he
looked put together. The dude was not like he was pretty cut up. He was not he wasn't one of these pudgy messes that just showed up.
Well, they remember the juice doesn't come in until background story. So I semi knew superstar Billy Graham. But then Billy went off to Japan, and I didn't know it. I mean, I read his name's Wayne. That's his real name, and he's gone now. He passed away. The juice pretty much took his life. But when he came back from Japan, he was on the juice, and that's when he had those unbelievable arms. But remember, their foreheads are like all over pimples, and there's all kinds of other stuff that's happening. But there's something called roid rage.
Yeah.
And they're nuts. And
that's a real thing.
Oh,
that's a real thing. I knew some people who got sucked into some of that, and man, they would turn on a dime and become irrational, violent.
Exactly.
Messes for no reason.
Exactly.
It was crazy.
And they were roid ragers. And and that killed a lot. It killed a lot of people everywhere, but Heenan said to stay away from them. Just leave him alone, don't go say hi, don't do anything, and he was the main event that night. But I was only around.
You remember how Barry Bonds
Oh,
went from
gassed.
a relatively like skinny guy with a relatively normal head to being like his head grew. I don't know what his hat size had to have been, but I saw him out at Coors Field on one of his last times he was here, and he was barely gimping around. His legs were shot, but his head was enormous. It was ridiculous.
Who was the guy in that race to get the most home runs?
It's Bonds and McGuire.
McGuire, the big tall white guy. Yeah.
Mark McGuire.
Mark McGuire.
Socha was in it for a little bit too, and they were all roided out.
They were all on the gas.
Not one of them was.
Who had the bat that was fixed?
Oh, I think McGuire got caught with that once.
Why do I think
Sosa
that?
did too.
Yeah.
They were corked bats.
Yes.
They would hollow out the middle and basically cork them up.
Yes.
So you got like a trampoline effect off of the ball.
Yes. But now, have they taken the home run record from McGuire and put it back on?
I don't think so, Pete. This is one of those for like a Sandy Clough question.
Oh, absolutely.
But as I understand it, I think that in the Hall of Fame type stuff that they have like a separate plaque with kind of like an explanation or asterisk about things. I'm not sure about that, but It'd be interesting to know. I just don't know. I think that they've kind of referenced it, but not taken it
So
out.
there's an asterisk or something that.
Because
that's
what I understand.
Well, Hank Aaron didn't gas, and of course Ruth didn't gas, or Maris didn't gas, Mantle didn't gas, but they got to these guys, and now it's interesting. Now they test for gas, and nobody's coming close, are they?
No, and you know what though? Honestly, I once again I defer to the experts, but I think that you can honestly say that home run race, those couple of years where people were just bombing balls.
Oh yeah,
it did help save baseball. I mean, not that baseball was going to die, but baseball was sick, and fan wise, it really mattered that happened. Like it even for the wrong reasons, it still helped pull them out of the tank.
What do you think Joe Biden is doing to, the demographic or the power of politics with that performance last night? Really, I mean, that stuff makes it work, doesn't it? I mean, if it was just like every day sort of pablum, who would care?
Yeah.
But
I talked to you yesterday about the my Hail Mary analogy was
a good one.
And what I think happened last night, I was thinking about this when I was watching it, is what happened is that it wasn't a Hail Mary, but it ended up being kind of a check down route, and the receiver ran out of bounds. Right. But it doesn't mean they're not out of time, and it doesn't mean they're not out of downs.
Did Joe screw the pooch last night?
I think it's almost. I was listening to the MSN and CNN and then Fox News, and it was kind of a Rorschach test of what happened last night, because the liberal leaning media found good things while Fox News found negatives, and everything was in between. My thing, what really bothered me, and I wish people would talk about this honestly. Joe Biden, when he talks, even if he's being coherent,
he's not.
He's got that really soft, raspy, and his words, it almost sounds like he has a marble in his mouth. He's kind of like mumbly, jumbly, and I think some of that is a remnant of stutter problems. As you get older, I think that it's just it becomes a bigger problem.
When he started doing that whispering stuff, like just between me and you, like nobody, Joe, quit. And that was, I mean, I like I said, I'll give you this as the final question. Average out his performances. Go back to the debate and everything. Now give it a letter. Average it out and give it a letter grade. How's Joe doing?
I would say he's probably at a C- right now, and that's not good enough, in my humble opinion. But guess what, Trump fans? You're running against what amounts to a completely mentally impaired person, and you're barely winning, if not losing. So don't get full of yourselves, folks. This is not. That's how badly Trump is disliked.
But if I'm Donald Trump, I want Joe Biden to stay. I don't want him going anywhere.
Oh God, yes. If you get a functional adult on the Democratic side of the ticket, he beats Trump. Period. That's it.
Good. Great call. Thanks.
Or she.
Or she. Thank you. All right, let me read just a couple of these quick ones. Sammy Sosa had the cork bat. He played for the Cubs. Here's another one. The superstar, Billy Graham, actually roided up in his early bodybuilding days in Arizona in the 60s before wrestling. When did steroids show up? I'll read it on, I'm sure it's true, but man, okay. 303-696-1971. We got about a half an hour left in the show. What did you watch last night? Does Joe Biden look to you like he's leaving? Did he survive it? And will he be the top of the ticket in November? And if you're the Republican Party, don't you want him to stay? Your turn, 303-696-1971.
At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. President Joe Biden held a news conference last night as part of his efforts to fend off growing calls for him to step aside as the Democratic Party's presumptive nominee. In New York, Haley Bianco has the highlights.
After a concerning debate performance, the president is facing a growing chorus of calls from lawmakers, celebrities, and other prominent Democrats to leave the 2024 race. Hoping to put an end to the concerns over his age and ability, Biden talked for about an hour and batted away questions about his age and fitness for office while defending his record. Biden says he won't leave the presidential race as long as he has a chance to win. The president insisted that he has no plans to drop out to make room for Vice President Kamala Harris or anyone else.
Volkswagen is set to massively ramp up production of solid-state batteries using the technology of US startup QuantumScape. The new agreement replaces an earlier joint venture and could see VW manufacture enough batteries to equip 1 million vehicles annually. Solid-state batteries are seen by many experts as the future of EVs, as they can hold more charge and provide more range, an issue that currently puts many people off buying an electric car. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm John Beaver in the UK on Salem News.
Those boys will be here Monday morning at 6. I'm Peter Boyles, on the air everywhere, and I do tomorrow morning here 9 a.m. on 710 KNUS following John Caldera. We go back to the phones. We go to Frank. Frank, you waited. Good morning. You're on the show.
Hey, good morning, Peter.
Hey, man.
I think it's kind of interesting that no matter what the situation, people find a way to make it detrimental to Trump. Like people say that it's, he's going up against a corpse and he's only winning by 1 point or something. Well, it's not his fault that the Democrats can't put up a decent candidate. I mean, this is insane. It's not that Trump isn't a good candidate. It's that the Democrat voters are clueless. They are so disconnected from what the country needs in terms of.
Right now, after that performance last night and tied into the debate and the other appearances, the question is, I mean, again, it's your call, do with it as you may, but I watched this guy struggle last night, and the debate's a joke. So do you think he's still going to be there? Will he survive? Let's not go off in the weeds. Yeah.
Well, he's a corpse. I agree with the last caller.
Yeah.
And the simple fact that he's not losing by 50 points is a detriment. I mean, is a detriment to the Democratic Party and Democratic voters.
Remember that, and this is what's interesting about the spotlight. Was it 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, after being found guilty in New York, the spotlight was on Trump, 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 Trump. Now, you're lucky to see Donald Trump on the network news. It's all Biden all the time. It was some pretty critical thinking and pretty critical questions, but it's the lesson, Frank, in how politics can change on a dime.
And the thing is, here now, CNN now has kind of got a reprieve from being the left-wing nut job.
Let me do this. I'm going to put you on hold to give you a chance to complete. Would you put them on hold, Kelly? Because we're behind because we went too long. Break time right after this, 710 KNUS. July 2024. Red hot couple of days. Peter Boyles and the Boys are back on Monday morning, and I get to do tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock here on 710 KNUS. We go back to Frank. Frank, take about 30 seconds and wrap it up. A couple more guys in before the top of the show.
Okay, real quick. Yeah, I think, the media and, has basically dropped the ball. The left-wing media has, and the right-wing media has to some degree too. But the CNN kind of got a reprieve after that by running that debate because it wasn't all that bad, although the predicate of all the questions was still a negative on Trump if you look at it. So, every question has a predicate, and they were always negative to Trump. Not always. There were a few that were not negative to him. But the thing is, this is not a detriment to Trump that he's only 2 points up or down or whatever.
No, I think it's a
detriment to the Democratic Party.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I think, as I said, Donald Trump got up off the deck, and I think he's more than back in the game. Now, it's a long way between now and then, but
he could still lose.
Of course. I mean, but that's the thing about it. It's like looking past a fight, and I think the Donald Trump that I watched in that debate is far more refined, and somebody knows something. And this guy that hangs on Biden. I got 2 minutes left. I'm going to jump. Dave, can you do it in a minute, please? Good morning.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good.Quickly, please.
VP selection. A lot of them, most of these guys are from red states, J.D. Vance, Marco. There's one I really like, and that's Glenn Youngkin.
Interesting.
He's smart.
Yeah,
he's not typical. And he can get swing votes, and he can get Virginia.
All right, so
which would be
real quick.
Plus.
We're almost at a minute. Who's your pick? Who does Trump pick? He's got four people.
I'd say I hope Youngkin though. That would be the smart pick.
If he picks him, no matter what, call me back. All right, I got to pull the pin. Listen, this has just been a gift. When the boys took a week off, Billy and Jeff, and they're back here Monday morning at 6. And Kelly came to me and said, "Hey, you want to do a week of radio? Want to come back and do a week of radio?" And I jumped on it with both feet. And I said, "You bet I will." And then, on the Sunday before the back in the saddle, and it was a dream. It came true. I feel so good about it. And like we said, Kel, we could probably still do this. And so to Kelly Michaels and to Blake and to everybody, Mark Crowley, that did it and helped us. Hey, I guess it's like certain things like riding a bike. You don't forget. You just have to improve. See you tomorrow morning at 9. We're working on 2 different books for the show tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. And the boys are back Monday morning here on 710 KNUS.